hear myself through my headphones. Yes, man. Like, I feel real good about this right now.
Pay attention, because you are now listening to Permission to Speak Freely.
Hey, quick disclaimer for first-time listeners. Hey, look, y'all. It is what it is, man. That's how we get here and started. Who knows what happens? Tish might pop in this. I know for sure Damon ain't gonna pop in this. But hey, if you're a first-time listener, right, this is Permission to Speak Freely podcast. I'm Damo. We got another host, Damon, who is on a ship right now getting active. So I think they got ATG on board too. We got another host named Tish who got some internet issues. She's somewhere in the abyss. Should be coming in, sometime. And then we joined by, my man DGUTS, man. This might be probably the fourth or fifth time we got together in the podcast universe. So, hey, what's up, man? How you been?
Good, man. I mean, generally, like, it's been a weird few months. Like, for the people that listen to me, it's like, it's been a weird, like, mental health roller coaster of a couple of months, just with like, I don't know. I get out of habits that I know are good for me, and it's like I underestimate how much they have an effect, and then it tanks, and then my wife's like, "You got to do the things that you need to do that are good for you," and it's like, so like that's been weird. Tried to get back into therapy, had a misadventure with a therapist that probably should be retired, and I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to like make fun of her. Like, she just is an older woman that like probably shouldn't be working at all anymore, let alone being a therapist. But so I'm working on getting back in with somebody else. But like, otherwise, I mean, generally good, man. I'm working technically. I work from home and it's pretty chill. But and then trying to get more consistent with podcast stuff. There's like a lot of stuff I want to do that I just kind of need to buckle down and do the damn thing. But good, man. Nothing super notable.
You dabbled in for a little. It's funny because for the listeners, I got some more like intro kind of stuff, but I got a question real quick for D-Guts.
All right.
Hey, you dabbled into producing podcasts for a little bit. Like, I think you had maybe like 3 of them on your channel at a time.
Well, sure, yes, sort of. I mean, we still do the Doc's point of view. So my dude Trey, he's a HM1. He does, it's focused on corpsmen, but he gets into like, just tangential topics like sailor stuff, you're an LPO and this happens or whatever. And then, I had 2 that have kind of gone dark. Trash Panda Talks might come back, or she might just do stuff with me. I'm not sure yet. And then I have another one cooking that it's just been like the person has been PCSing and stuff. And they're trying to find a co-host as well because they don't want to do it by themselves. But they want to do like a Navy news podcast where they just like basically like if there's big policy changes or announcements or just goings on. Right. So like kind of like when the fuel spill issue happened in Hawaii or like, maybe they like authorized a new boot or whatever. Like they release an nav admin for something. Most junior people aren't popping open their phone when they get an alert and opening the nav admin reader and just reading a nav admin proper. I mean, like most E5 and below probably couldn't even tell you where to find them unless they're like radio men or something. So it's like, they want to do something where they're breaking all that stuff down and like, okay, this new policy came out. You probably haven't even heard about it, but this is what it means to you. Like, this is how it'll affect you. This is what it actually means. And then like discussing like what's happening in the Navy. And then they want to do like different segments. They might pull something from Reddit that they've seen and discuss that or whatever, like something that's going on in the Navy social media ether. But those are like kind of the things. But it's really just Trey right now. So
Trey been holding it down, man.
Mm-hmm. He's really consistent.
He kind of holding it down. Before we go further, I want to shout out Legendary 30 for the hat. It's like Chief merch. So shout out to Legendary 30. Nice little cool little hat with the goat and the star. I'm always trying to support. I got the Hank Cinnamon Buns shirt on, and that's funny because what we gonna be talking about today, like we gonna be talking. Hey, for y'all, we gonna be like for the most part, right? We gonna be talking about taking care of yourself, health, mental health, physical health, I've been waiting to talk to you so I can have this conversation.
Is it because I'm such a dumpster fire when it comes to physical and mental health?
Hey man, like every time, like when I turn on your pod, man, it's like the first 5-6 minutes I get like the update. So I'm like, let me just talk because I really wanted to share with you how I'm doing and like my shit. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't wait for that. Then whenever Tish come, I know she felt like this conversation was important too.
Hey, you were going somewhere with the question about me producing podcasts. I just want to make sure I didn't I kind of rambled for a second there, and you didn't ask the question.
You answered it. I mean, you've been pieing for a while, man. So I think you knew where I was going, man.
Okay, Tish, I got
Tish.
Hey, you're back.
New room, huh? Different room.
You got better, more bars in that room or something?
You ready to go, huh, Tish? You in the kitchen? We got the kitchen.
I had to pick a bedroom. Had to pick another bedroom.
Oh, that's
no, it's not. That's me.
Yeah, that's the bed. That looks like the bathroom to me.
I was about to say, Tish, be careful. Somebody in your house.
Listen. I had to make shit happen. Okay.
There's someone behind you.
A live studio audience.
What's that sound? They said that's not grandma. That's not your grandma. You ain't never seen that movie, Tish?
There's someone in the backseat.
You gotta watch it. I just gave it up though. These two kids, they go to their grandparents. It's called The Visit. Yeah. These two kids go to their grandparents' house. The grandparents act weird as hell, right? But like almost 20 minutes left in the movie, they FaceTime the mom and they like, hey, our grandparents been acting weird. She like, well, show me them.
There. Yeah.
She like, yo, they not your grandparents, yo.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. You gotta watch that, yo.
All right.
Hey, did y'all see this video that everybody talking about? This recruit, like we hit our recruiting goal video. Did you see this one?
Oh no, dude! I've heard we met our recruiting goal, and I just assumed somebody changed the numbers on a spreadsheet. And they're like, "Look, it's green now." So like, I don't buy it for a second, dude. For real?
Hey, so they put a video out, right? And it's funny because it popped up on my, and I guess it was kind of popular. So it popped up on my feed, but I ain't watch it. I was probably dealing with the baby. I'm like, all right, we hit our recording go. I just read the article. I don't feel like I need to watch this on Instagram. Yeah. Come to find out, it was on this video that was posted on one of our official like Navy. So I don't know which site it was. One of the seller had on the wrong socks, and they're whites. Right.
I mean, to be fair, I like every single sailor wearing type 3s or whatever. What's the type? Is it type 3? Type 3.
Type 3.
Desert, yeah, they're all wearing the wrong color socks. Like if you're wearing coyote brown boots, you should be wearing coyote brown or sage green socks. Ask me how I know. I went down this whole rabbit hole of like the Uniform Matters office. Cause when you look at the original messages when they came out, cause I was like the guy that transitioned us from type 1s to type 3s. And so I like wrote a command like Cobb memo, basically just saying like, these are the dates, thou shalt do the following. These are the things you need to have or whatever. And when you read the initial documents, the way that it reads is like expeditionary COs have the like discretion to prescribe the coyote brown boots. They were never intended to be worn by everyone. Like everybody was supposed to be wearing black boots, black socks. But then the whole Navy went batshit crazy and bought coyote brown boots. So then all the ladies at the uniform shop are reading the uniform regs off of the website, off of the NPC links. And it says, because the default boot is supposed to be black boots, it says black socks. So then the whole Navy's wearing fucking coyote brown boots and black socks. I'm like, this don't make no sense. So then after I just gave up arguing the point of we're all supposed to be wearing black boots, I'm like, all right, fine, we're wearing coyote brown boots. So then I emailed the Uniform Matters office and said, hey, if we're wearing coyote brown boots, which we probably shouldn't be, but whatever, what color socks are you supposed to wear? And they're like coyote brown or sage green. And then I went to the uniform shop, and the uniform shop ladies, as I'm coming up with this armful of socks to buy for myself, they're like, those are the wrong socks. And I'm like, no, they're not. And they're like, yeah, they are. And we got into this little argument. And I'm like, look, I don't care. I'm buying these socks. So just like, if I'm wrong, if you think I'm wrong, you're going to think I'm wrong, and that's fine. But the whole fucking Navy's wearing the wrong color socks. So whatever, man.
Yeah. And if you full black in it, man, this is just my opinion.
For real.
If you full black with the sock in 2024, I pray for you, man. You know what I mean? You get the black sock with the white bottom, man. Let them toes breathe a little bit, man. The soggy feet with the straight black.
I threw away all my socks.
I done been through it with the straight blackies.
Like on shore duty, even though like I was like, I went and got some of those Oakley boots. Just they're like wearing tennis shoes, man. Like,
they a lot. Yeah.
And they're so much more comfortable on your feet because like my feet are a mess. Like everything about me is a mess. We'll get into that when we get to the health stuff. But like my feet hated me for a long time, and so like wearing those boots versus wearing some of those like Bates, the black ones, like Jesus. I used to
remember
put like
Gucci. Remember they used to hurt your ankle for like 2 months.
Yeah, I used to put like they like rubbed my heel raw every time. But I used to put new insoles in them, and that would help some. But like Jesus, like they were terrible for you. Like they're just messing up your feet and fucking. Them shits used to be stiff for like 2 months. Yeah.
Like, it was like, yo, I'm gonna break them, man.
Yeah,
you take them.
It's like a hot minute. It's like a hot minute to break those things up.
You working on the railroad. But in this video, so she got the wrong socks on, right? Mm-hmm. And this is my thoughts, right? Some people not gonna like my thoughts. The video is representing the Navy, right? It's representing what we do. It's a lot of sellers walking around here with like you just said. It's a lot of sellers walking around here with the wrong socks and ain't being corrected. Don't wait till it's on Instagram and say, how come the Navy posting this on this site?
Yeah.
And
meanwhile, walk across Norfolk Naval Station and try not to have a seizure if you care about uniform regs. Because, like, dude, I used to drive up from Richmond because I was on that Army base when the A school. I mean, it's still there, but it was Fort Lee. I can never remember the new name. They changed. It's one of the bases where they change the names, but it's it's like an hour drive, but that's like if you want uniforms and you want all like medical care and anything else, you're going to like the Tidewater area. Mm-hmm. So I would go and I would go to the Next just because it's the closest Next and it's pretty big. And I'm like, I'll go check that out and get some stuff or whatever. And I would walk through there, man, and I just had to like steel myself for the experience and just be like you can't be everybody's chief at the end. Like I'll never get out of the exchange if I'm stopping all these kids for all the uniform infractions. And so I'm just like, I just can't do it. I mean, like kids walking in uniform with earbuds in and like wearing the wrong stuff or like being debloused in public, just all this stuff. And then obviously like hands in pockets, which isn't a thing anymore, but it used to be, or like sunglasses hanging out on their pocket or whatever, man. Like it's just never fucking ended. And no one cared. And so I'm like, look, if you have a chief, like almost all of you have chiefs. And if they don't care, like I'm not spending 4 hours at the Next instead of 30 minutes because they don't care, but I do. You know what I mean? And it hurt my soul because I wanted to like correct it. But then you know how those interactions usually go. It's like I'll correct it until they walk around the corner. And then they're just gonna be like, man, fuck that guy. Go right back to what they were doing. So it's like, I was just like, man, I can't. But like,
I told the chief that before when he corrected me for something. I was like,
told him what?
I told him
you're going to walk around a corner and keep doing what you're doing.
I said, hey, man, you're telling me to stop right now, right? And I'm going to stop because you're saying it. Yeah. But as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to go back to doing
I'm going to go right back to what I was doing. It's like.
And then he told me, he was like, hey, man, as long as you know. Yeah, not to do that shit in front of me.
But then what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, that's something I've always had heartburn about because now, like, you trust Chiefs a little bit less, and that dude, like, what? You fucking got an ego stroke or got some kind of like, I don't know, like fulfillment out of being a bully or something? Like, because it's not. What was accomplished? Like all you did was degrade a sailor's ability to have any trust in the Chiefs mess, which is already big enough fucking problem. We don't need any help. Like you don't need to like find opportunities to erode trust in the Chiefs mess.
What's crazy is that dude in particular was a hell of a chief.
Well, sure. Know? I mean,
he was a good dude. Him in particular though, but like. Yeah, it's a lot of cases where like you might you might get that person correcting somebody that's like a bunch of shit.
That's why I always like when I harp on leadership and confidence on my podcast. It's like a lot of people I think, especially like chiefs that have been around a while, they snap to it being like this attack. And it's like, no, I'm stating like this is the state of things. Like there's a level of incompetence that's making it very difficult for us to do our job as a collective organization. And that it's very difficult for sailors to trust us based on how we're doing our job. But that doesn't mean it's entirely the fault of that individual chief having never been educated or prepared or qualified to do that job. So it's like like in that example, could be a really good dude, but then in those interactions, you're causing harm to sailors' ability to trust chiefs. And it's like, so then they start avoiding you because they don't want to hear you shit and all this other stuff. And it's just like, it's counterproductive. But at the same time, like, I'm not mad at that dude. Exactly. Yeah. Like if they're choosing to act that way, having been provided all the things they needed to be successful as a chief in whatever role they're in, okay, yeah, then that's a different conversation. But I don't see how you could make that argument basically ever, unless there was like a singular case, like for instance, my experience as a young chief. Like I made chief in a mess that was on a special project submarine. It was very, very senior. They're all volunteering to be there. So you're getting all these just like type A high performers that are highly competent 99% of the time. So it was like chief university. So I just happened to be in a place where I got developed really well. And then, you know, that's layered on top of my upbringing and everything else. So it's just like, I got really, really lucky that I ended up where I was and I got to saw what right looked like. And those guys wouldn't let me get away with anything. Like anytime I was fucking up and they'd like stop, don't do that. But then they'd educate me. And that's not normal.
Yeah. It's not like, right. And we talk about it a lot, and we've talked about it a lot. So I don't think we're gonna go too deep into it. But it's not like people go into like a rotating door, right? And they rotate like fucking 10 times, and then they come out like great chiefs, right? Like that. Like some, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes people think like that's like what happens, right? So when you say like we got leadership incompetence, I think sometimes people might get offended by like the words.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but I mean, incompetence, if by definition, it has a dictionary-based definition.
Right,
and,
right.
I mean, it's not really, like, that's why I never really get...
It's just like the opposite of competence. Like, that's all I mean by it. And I always said it, like, you're either incompetent or you're stupid, right? And like, to me, incompetence is just, there's an absence of knowledge. Like, we're talking about like being an auto mechanic, I'm fucking incompetent, right? But if I know better and I willfully do the wrong thing, that's just stupid. Like, and that's how I differentiate the two for myself. But then, like even if you look at the dictionary definition, it's just the opposite of competence. But like people imbue words with all these like extra feelings and what it means to them when somebody else used it in order to attack them, but sound like they weren't or something. And it's like, look, I get it, but I can only English so good. So it's like, I do my best. And I felt like incompetence was the most appropriate word, but some people definitely don't like it. That's for sure.
The moral to the story, in my opinion, there is that we need to teach more for us to learn more. Right. Yeah. And that's what it is like, and we need to teach more like actual like things that we can apply to the reality of our jobs.
That and like, I think we need at the point that we're at, I think we need external resources to like remediate the existing leadership. Like you need somebody like, you know, like a Jocko and his consulting company, or like a Dave Deary in the Enlisted Leadership Foundation or something. So like you need an outside entity that has a high, like this is what they do and they're objectively experts at it. Because I just don't think the competence exists except for there's anomalies here and there, you know, like there are good, like Bill Houlihan, great dude, probably could helm that program, no problem. And like you'd get an outstanding result. But like, I think Bill Houlihan is probably a unicorn in a lot of ways, even though he might not admit that. Like, I think when you compare him to a lot of other dudes doing his job, he's probably hyper competent. I mean, I don't know him that well, but anyway.
Yeah. And a lot of people, like you said in the last, when we did your episode, a lot of people, they just, it's in them. Like they got art, like from external experience, external knowledge, books they read, leadership.
I think a lot of it is dorking out on it. Like that's how I got smart, man. Like like my anecdotal experience in that first Chiefs mess, but then and part of it, like I've always been that way. Like when I want to know something, I do research. And so that's what I did. That's what I would do. I would just start finding resources. And back, I want to say it was on the first boat. It might not have been out yet though. And I found Jocko, I found Extreme Ownership and Dichotomy of Leadership. And then I started to just go down all these other rabbit holes. And then I found psychology through the leadership books, because they all reference psychology, including this one from 1959 that the Navy published. And it's like, so then now I got a degree in psychology. I got a degree in organizational leadership. I got all the books and all the things. And it's like, this is just what I do, but I've been studying it for over a decade. And so it's like, it's like there's people that want to like, I got into a dust up with somebody. I'm not going to get into the details of it on a podcast, but like about what I say and how I say it. And that I basically had somebody tell me that I needed to do more leadership development and heritage teaching on my podcast. I'm like, that's fucking literally all I do here. I like, you clearly haven't listened to any of it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think they understand where I'm at versus where like a normal master chief that's still on active duty is, or a normal chief in an LCPO billet, because normal chiefs and master chiefs don't do what I've been doing for over a decade. Like normal people don't get obsessed with this topic and go down this. Some of the books I have, you'd be like, what is that? Like, where did you even get that from? And it's like just super obscure, like psychology things and like original publishings of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which like when you see it on the internet, it's different than what you see in his actual, it's almost like a pamphlet. It's not even like a book, but there's a lot more context, and he discusses things in different ways that kind of give you more like clarity on what he actually meant by that. But yeah, it's like normal people don't study it the way that I do, or the way Jocko does, or the way all these other guys do. And so it's like, and I'm not comparing myself to Jocko. I think he's like way more equipped to do the thing than I would be. But I'm saying you need to get somebody like him and just cut him a check, and then he could remediate those, competencies that I just don't think we have enough of it. It's like, it'd be like if I tried to spin up a CSA school and teach them how to cook in the civilian world. It's like, you'd have to absolutely plunder the enlisted aid ranks to staff that school, because that's basically the only place that competency exists in the Navy, except for random unicorns here and there that have culinary degrees and actual industry experience. But
yeah, it's crazy. Like I got hit up to go like lead a panel about something recently, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, why the fuck, why they go hit me up, man? What I got
because you're command senior chief Dom, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it actually come from potting. It don't come from that. It come from the podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, I had a similar experience. Yeah, I had a similar experience. It's kind of wild. We can talk about it offline because it's not something I want to put out there quite yet. But yeah, it's really bizarre. It was kind of like the imposter syndrome crept in, where they were like coming to me because of who I am and what I do on the podcast, and like saying they want me to be a part of something pretty insane. And it would involve like a full-time employment and stuff. And so I'm just like, holy shit. I'm like, am I really this guy now? Like did I really just like get somebody's reaching? You know what I mean? Like it's because I just look at it like I'm just a dude that does this thing and it's not a big deal. And I don't view myself the way a lot of my listeners do. Like I know I'm hyper competent at this, but like at the same time, I don't think I'm like the expert that you're going to go seek out on naval leadership, but somebody does.
Yeah.
And so,
they're like, he's cheaper.
But the thing is it's also a testament to what people have heard from. From anybody who on here talk. Like when somebody DM'd and was like, Tisha's, my hero. I'm like, how the fuck is Tisha your hero?
That's what I said.
You got Damon. You got
what the fuck,
how
man?
the fuck did it go down? How did it go all the way down?
Tisha's a valuable contributing member of this team, sir.
I was wondering the same damn thing. I was like, me? Me, the loose cannon?
Oh my God. Damon's the loose cannon. I feel like Damon is the wild one. If there's a wild one out of all y'all, it's Damon. That dude.
Yeah, he is. He's pretty crazy.
It's always a surprise when,
you never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
When people say shit.
Yeah. But that's what people want. People want to learn about leadership because, like you were saying, like there's not enough of the competency in the Navy. So they're willing to get it from anywhere. I know I personally have watched TED Talks. YouTube is my best friend. I will watch a YouTube video. I will just put in leadership and I'll just go, or audiobooks and all that stuff. Like people are hungry for the knowledge. And then when they have a familiar face, someone they connect with on a podcast, because podcasts are everything right now. I listen to a lot of podcasts too. Putting them in a room, like, people are going to come. Whether it's you or Jocko or Damo or my crazy, they're gonna come.
Or whoever,
they're gonna come.
Hey, and while we were just talking about Damon, I want to shout him out real quick. because he been dropping topics in our notes and shit.
Oh, cool.
And
still doing it from out at sea, Hayes Green underway, man. Hell
yeah, right. And I'm gonna say this, Damon. Hey, man, stop dropping notes in our note thing, man, while you're out at sea, dog. You know,
he's out there doing it for real though. He's got like all the stuff coming up. Like that's what I used to like get all my inspiration for Spin the Yarns back in the day. I'd get to my car and I used to, at the very beginning, I recorded them on my drive home. I plugged a microphone into my iPhone and I would like be intrigued. You'd hear my turn signal in the road and shit. And I'd be talking about like, so this thing happened to me at work today and here's what I like, here's what you can pick up from it and learn from it. It's basically like a case study. And so like that's probably what he's got a lot of stimulus right now.
You know what he doing? He doing like what dads do when their kids get in trouble when they're on deployment. Like, yo, you can't father us from our Damon, man.
I tried, dog. I was trying to be on your team, man. I'm trying to advocate for you. I try to defend you when you're not here to defend yourself. But you won't let me do it.
Now I know how the family feel when dad get back talking about some C that I got on my report card. Damon, we see you when you get back. We gonna hold them topics for when you get back. I don't care how old those topics are. We gonna hold them till you get back. Hey, all right. Let's. What it is that we do want to talk about though? Right. I think I want to start all the way back. And I don't know, with this conversation, it's just going to be fluid for the listeners.
It's that song where he goes all the way back into time. It's like an R&B song. What is that?
I forgot.
I forgot the song too, but it is how it started off.
It's like a Drew Hill song or something. Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah. I'll look it up later. Sorry. My squirrel brain just squirreled pretty hard.
I want to go back to when my mom used to tell us that we couldn't open up more than one box of cereal at a time. You know what I mean? I think that's the best first marker for me because that sets a whole lot. Hey, shout out to you, Mom. And our brains as kids, we always thought we could open up more than one box, Mom. But shout out to you for telling us we couldn't. Like you got to finish the fruit.
Bro, you want to hear something nuts? So Mom's a big Irish Catholic family, right? So my mom has 11 brothers and sisters. It would have been 12, but one of them passed away in infancy. And when they were like little, so my grandpa was like a Ford auto worker in Detroit, and my grandma like stayed home and raised all the kids, right? And so like they would pour you a bowl of cereal, right? And like if you didn't eat that whole fucking bowl of cereal, my grandma would take that bitch, put it on top of the fridge and be like, all right, you're not hungry now. When you're hungry later, it'll be right there. And you're going to eat that fucking bowl of cereal. And I'm like, no way. She used to tell us that story when we were kids, like when we wouldn't eat our food. She'd be like, you want to know what happened to me growing up? And like, I believe her because like she hasn't backed off this story being authentic as an adult. So like, but she'd be like, they're dying laughing right now. My dad listens to every episode, so they're laughing their ass off right now, I'm sure. But yeah, like they would do shit like that all the time. Or like dinner, same thing. Like, oh, it'll be here later when you get fucking, when you want snacks, here's your fucking lasagna that's room temperature. And it's been sitting up there collecting dust for 2 hours.
That's grandma. Our grandma, she set us with the Brussels sprouts and like we all made us eat. It don't matter how cold them shits got. Like we had to eat them. We all threw up at the table. It was crazy, right? But you know, so all of that's in the same spirit of like being kids, right? Yeah. And not being able to like choose like or decide, like have any power over like your diet, what you eat, how much you eat and shit like that, right? And some people take it out on themselves later, right? So that's what we're gonna get into like when I talk about a little bit of myself a little later. So let's fast forward from like not being able to eat one box of cereal at a time to working at Wendy's. Having my own job with my own money and my own ability to put the bacon on a spicy chicken cheeseburger with the cheese on both sides. My own ability to do all of that, right? And never really getting like a life lesson from anybody in particular about like, yo, it don't matter how good this shit is, you probably shouldn't eat all this shit, right? You know what I'm saying? Like never getting that, right? To like, so I think my weight gain journey started when I got money and got a job and started working at Wendy's, right? That's when I started putting on the pounds and having control over what I ate, right? Let's skip this and fast forward to my first injury in the Navy. My first injury in the Navy was when I was on shore duty. I was a second class. I made first while I was injured. I fell in a hole and I tore a bunch of ligaments in my left knee. At that time, when I fell in a hole, I was 250. I was 250 pounds when I fell in a hole. from the surgery and the recovery process and all of that, I was I shot all the way up to like 270.
Damn.
Right. Hey, and for the listeners, some of this I'm gonna say might sound like it's real easy for me to say it, but some of the conversation I'm gonna have is gonna be hard for me to have, just so y'all know. So I shot up to like 270, and then when I was going through the process, y'all, like to get like better and shit like that, they like, oh, do you just want like to be like separated, medically separated? I'm like, no, and they were like talking to me as if I was like this like trash bag seller, and they probably was looking at me because I was 270 pounds and thinking I didn't care about like, my career. And at the time I was like, just for referencing, I was like a straight EP seller. I had never even seen nothing outside of that, right? So I cared about my career and stuff like that. But from the looks of it, who could tell? Right. They told me I wouldn't be able to run again, nothing like that. So I started running, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about... So naturally
you started doing the thing they couldn't tell you.
That they told you couldn't do.
Yeah, they told me. They was like... Yeah, they was like, yo, you can't. They was like, you can't, run and shit. You can't play football. Even when he was giving like my surgery, he's like, hey, I'm not going to fix this. You're not an athlete. All this shit. So I started running, right, and then wound up.
Fuck.
Yeah, I got to a point where I would go on Monday, right, and it's all real shit. I would do 9 miles on Monday at the gym.
Hell yeah.
8 on Tuesday, 7 on Wednesday, 6 on Thursday, and 5 on Friday, right?
Damn.
And they told me in that time that I was going to get arthritis. After I got surgery, they was like, hey, you're going to get arthritis. It's going to settle in and all that. I said, okay. I wound up going back. They do that shit.
Like, I tore my labrum and they did a bunch of x-rays on me because I did CrossFit for like 6 years. And they're like, you got arthritis in your shoulders and you're only like 35. What's going on here? I'm like, I do like a lot of pull-ups and Olympic weightlifting and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, you need to stop doing that. I'm like, are you really? Like you're a doctor, like you're an orthopedic surgeon. What the fuck are you talking about? Why would I just stop? Like, but they don't, they don't know. Like they're just about fixing that one thing. Like their knowledge and experience and expertise, it's all siloed in that one thing that they do. And they're like, oh, you just need to stop doing that because then it fixes that thing that they're like got blinders on that they're examining. It's so goofy. I'm like, yeah, I'm not stopping. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. For sure, man. And when I lost that weight, man, I developed I wasn't eating right. Like I wasn't eating healthy, like too much at all, right? I was eating I would eat like a granola bar a day, some water.
Yeah, that's not.
I developed a dependency on like this GNC VitaPack, right? The GNC VitaPack helped me through like losing this weight, right? So I wound up leaving that command. I wound up going all the way down to like 186. So nice. I was 270, and then by the time I met my wife, by the time I married my wife, I was 186. But again, like I said, I grew to develop a dependency on this GNC VitaPack as if it was like my workout partner. Like I needed this to help here.
Yeah.
In those early days, before I started losing weight, when I was on my first ship, when I was probably going up to 250, I was noticing things like sleep apnea effects, stuff like that in those times. After I went down to like 186, none of that shit, none like me never heard it, the sleep apnea, none of that. Like, it's not like, how the fuck can you get sleep apnea at 186? I mean, right. That was in my brain, right? I know it's probably some people that like does have it. And then, I honestly, I made Chief, right? I made Chief. And I like from the season on, right? And for the young, and this, I'm having this conversation for young people and young sellers and young chiefs or whatever. But from the season on, I gained weight, know? So I got married.
They anticipate that at your uniform fitting. They're like, you're going to gain weight. And I'm like, crazy. No, I'm not. I'm going to stay in shape. And then like a little Filipino lady at the uniform shop just looked at me like, okay, you're gonna gain weight. Like, how many of you I've seen in here like saying they're not gonna gain weight? Like, you're gonna gain weight. And shit, I gained weight.
Yeah, bro, it's crazy. So before the season, I went on my honeymoon. So before the season, we went on honeymoon. I gained some honeymoon weight. Like you living life. And then I was like, I'm gonna work this shit off. And then I made Chief and I'm like, I'm really gonna work this shit off.
Yeah.
But then they was like, hey, no, we're gonna PT to the standard of the lowest, like the person that's the least fit or whatever. Yeah. And that for somebody that's fit, and at that time I was really fit, that sucks. That's worse than getting like
formation runs during the Chief season and at the A school are why my knees are dust. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, because we'd be running 3 miles an hour and it's you're just like, what are we doing, dude? Like, I'm convinced that's why I have a disability rating for my knees, dude.
Bro, over the roughest terrain, bro. We on hills, bridges that look like they gonna break. This shit was so horrible in San Diego. Like where they had us running out there. But so I make it, you know. So when I remember we did our first run, man, and it wasn't even like close, man. It was bad, right? And it's like I know, like, because even when I was at my shore duty command, I put a chin in to work out on my own because all of that shit is just bad. I remember they made me like an ACFL, and when I was an ACFL, like I really wanted people to lose weight because I had like this testimony. So I was like, and then it was times I got told like, hey man, you need to chill. It's like stuff not in standards. I'm like, but I really want people to lose weight. They like, yeah, but you need to chill.
You probably needed to chill some, but then at the same time, like I was always the guy that was chasing fitness too when I could, like, especially on shore duty. Like when I was a workaholic too, so I'd get on a submarine and I would just like I'd usually lose it because I'd be just like I would never sleep if I made time to work out because I was just always at work. But I would usually be in like CrossFit shape, and so like I would want to. But my favorite ones, like we had an EOD chief that ran the Select EPT one year, and he wasn't like being unreasonable, but we did a lot of stuff that was really fun and was actual like fitness stuff. Like I remember we were doing these like frog hop things across like the soccer field, and dude, the next day I could barely get off and like get up and put my pants on, and like it was just sore in places I didn't know that I could be sore, and I was like that stuff to me is the most fun, and it's like clearly that dude knows how to get into shape, right? He was in great shape, and he was an older dude. Like he was I want to say like in his early 40s at the time. And so I'm I don't think it's unreasonable to like pursue that level of fitness because you see people throughout the ranks that do it as like it's just what they're into. And so they go do CrossFit or jujitsu or they're just gym rats or whatever. And it's like, so why can't we just ask more of our people? Like, not because it's exactly applicable to what we do, which I think the PRT should be tailored to the community and the platform you're on and whatever. But like, just for general like health and wellness, it's like it's a preventative measure for not ending up in the hospital, getting on meds or doing surgeries or PT or whatever, like physical therapy or whatever that like you wouldn't need to do if you were just taking care of yourself. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. But we got this, culture, and that's, and that's what, that's what I'm gonna kind of drive to. So chief stuff, made chief, I go in a mess as a chief, right? So I get redistributed. I didn't gain weight from the season. So I'm like, let me lose weight now. Let me get back in shape. I don't got to run at the same pace as X out such and such name anymore. Like I can run at my own pace now. But then they like, hey, you're going to a mess. So then I get to the mess and bright lights and fucking all the food that you can eat, right? And I start dabbling in like a little bit.
I don't have that problem. On submarines, you're eating the exact same shit. We go through the same chow line, get the same food, eat at the same tables.
Yeah.
Damn. Get that Gucci food.
Yeah, it's DDG, right? And it's a master chief. He tell me, right, his name Ryan. He hit me up and he was like, hey, bro. And I talked about it last night. He was like, hey man, don't eat too much in here. Like don't he's like, it's different. He's like, it's different from the other mess decks. Don't sit here and eat too much. Needless to say, the way that the lifestyle was, and this is my story and it's probably some other people's story. Yeah. The way that the lifestyle was, that's where my comfort would come in, was like eating shit. It's like, especially like underway, like, that was eggs to order every day. Eggs with cheese, omelet. Like every single day I'm eating eggs, sausage, pancakes, Like if you at home, you're not eating like that every day.
Right.
Like you might grab fruit, you might eat cereal. Like normally for me, it was a bowl of cereal. That was after the one granola bar a day days, right? Like a bowl of cereal and some other shit. The one granola bar a day is important because when I lost all that weight, it wasn't the healthiest. So I never established like a real understanding of how I'm supposed to like lose all that. Yeah. That's why that's important to that journey. But but it's eating bullshit. And then it's like, it's 3 like square meals a fucking day on the shit, and the potential to have another one, right? And it's for real. It's for real meals. Like it ain't like no quick. Like even mid rest, you could get more food than you had throughout the day. So if we got the Weight Watch, and you know,
that's usually garbage.
And then the way that the food is put together too,
ravioli and shit. Corn dogs.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's like carnival food or something.
Exactly. The way it's packaged and preserved, all that stuff. It's just bad food.
Here's your Uncrustables.
But I was on that. I was in that group. Will, I was in that group where we would get exclusive food, right?
Yeah.
So like the mid-rest, the night baker would be like, "Yo, I'm gonna make some burritos."
It's not supposed to be real, but it is, man. Like, it's literally against the rules. But every surface ship I've ever heard of, that's what they do. The good cooks get selected to go to the cheese mess in the wardroom, and then
I was just about to say, when I was at E6, and I worked at a flat command. And we would embark on the BHR, and the admiral's cook would come on, and we'd be knocking on the back door like, "Hey, what you got today?" So we was eating good, the biggest burgers. Man, it was so fucking good.
Right? Yeah, they hook it up. Listen, we be down on. Yeah,
fucking so wrong, dude. That's so backwards.
Bro, we be down on watch the 22-2, man, and we had to hook up with the night baker. Yeah. So at about 1:20, we get the burritos in Central Control Station. So now we eat the burritos, and then we get off watch, bro, and
go
we
to
going
breakfast.
To sleep. We going to sleep until breakfast. So we going to sleep because you a chief, so it ain't like you could really you ain't had late sleepers as a chief. Like you still gotta get up, right? So boom, we do that. So that's lifestyle. That's all lifestyle shit, right? So lifestyle. Then you go. And then what's next, right? The coffee. And I'm not attacking caffeine, right? Because I've been on this little caffeine kind of thing for the last episode too. But the coffee or the energy drinks or whatever like that. Now, here's the thing.
Dude, I lived on sugar-free Red Bull for like 5 years. And then I switched to those white monsters at one point. And I'm talking like right before we get underway, you'd see my ass for like a week before the underway day. I'd be walking out with Costco cases and I'd be like swirling away in little hidey holes. Bro, I can't believe I don't have kidney stones the size of fucking soccer balls coming out of me, but it's never happened, thank God. But dude, I was that guy. I was like, I had to have been like one of the worst like case studies of energy drink abuse in the history of the Navy. It was bad.
Yeah, and it's a part of the lifestyle, bro. It's a part of just being on the ship. The energy drinks always selling out at the ship store. All that shit, right? So we banging energy drinks. We banging, and I'm not really a coffee guy, so I default to energy drinks, right? So we doing that, right? Now I want to fast forward all of this because I want to shut up soon and like kind of, hear y'all out. Because for me, right? Because what I really want to talk about is like burnout, right? For me, burnout and how it wasn't going to get me mentally. Like it wasn't going to affect my mental health. So for me, I had to get the sign of burnout from my fucking physical health. Like that was the only way for me to be told, like, hey, you need to slow down.
At exact same time for me, dude. Like all the wheels fell off the wagon at the exact same time. Physical, mental, all of it. But my wife still had to be the one that told me to go to therapy though. So stubborn. My wife was pivotal, in my situation. So so now I'm living life throughout it all, right? Living life, however, is kind of like done and tossed at me, whatever the schedule is. So like I went to GeoBatch. When I went to GeoBatch in Norfolk, man, I was eating like my mom was getting on me about this, but I ate Popeyes a lot. Like, so when I was GeoBatch in Norfolk, I would either eat Popeyes, Subway, or like go to like some
crazy restaurant that I like a lot, right? So it was either Popeye, Subway, or like a really nice restaurant like that might have like beer and liquor or whatever like that, right? So I was always eating really good. Then I would go home for the weekend, and we don't feel like cooking in the like 2-day weekend or whatever like that. So then we order some shit. So it's like I've had like periods of time that I did not eat healthy at all. Yeah. Right? Like just damn, I'm eating bad. I've also had periods of time where I was like, why the fuck am I drinking tonight? You know what I mean? Like why am I drinking? And my wife would say the same thing, like, yo, why? Like, oh, what are you drinking for? like it's like no reason. Like, it's like what you celebrating? Like, you just got a bottle. You know what I mean? It got to a point sometime where like, I would like drift downstairs and just pour something in the cup and then come upstairs as if she wouldn't know that, you know, it ain't like I'm hiding it, but I'm just not announcing that I'm grabbing more alcohol, you know, and then she might say something like, what you I can smell something. Then I get defensive, try to gaslight her. Right? But so,
as long as you know it, as long as you know your tactics.
You gotta, you know,
you Listerine and
you gotta admit these truths, right?
So you do.
So we get to and I'm in no way, shape, or form will I ever say I was alcoholic, but I was drinking like a drink or something. Like it'd be like a 3-week period. I'm like, damn, I think I drank every fucking night these last 3 weeks. Yeah. Or I might have ate some shit without eating a vegetable for the last 3 weeks or the last month or something like that.
That's I've done that. Right? Where like me and my wife will look at each other and be like, we need vegetables in our life. Like, Jesus, like what are we doing?
Yeah, bro. And it's probably a lot of people. That's good. You know what I'm saying? That's really fucking good. It's really good. Yeah. It's really beneficial. So now we get to it. So the geobatch, right? So I'm eating all this bullshit geobatching. So that lifestyle's wild. And then while I'm now mind you, I've been to like 3 to 4 commands in a year, right? So I've been to, I think I've been to 4 different commands in it. I've been through 4 different commands, maybe 3, right? Maybe 3 commands in a year because I was at Naval District, Washington. Then I went to the Bush, and then now I'm at the command.
And
so
then
I've
you
been
got
in 3
selected for command senior chief, and then so you had to go do school and then go somewhere else.
Yeah, man. So I was geobatching for a little bit, and the lifestyle of geobatching was like living in the barracks was fucking shit, right? And then having to travel on the weekends, right? So I would leave. If we didn't have Friday to work, I would leave either Thursday, or if I had to work Friday, leave Friday, go home, right? And then that's when we would pod on Saturday. So I'm leaving, or I would pod during the week in the barracks. But so I'm leaving on Friday, getting home at like fucking 8 at night or something like that, right? Wife is pregnant. And then I'm leaving to go back to work Monday at 2 a.m, right? So I'm leaving to go back to work Monday at 2 a.m, and then I'm living whatever life that is for the rest of the week. At some point, like Wednesday or something. Yeah, bro. So at some point on like Wednesday or something, I'm beat. At some point, like one of these days, it's like, guys, I need to recalibrate for a minute. Right? And then I got the RA watch. You know, I got whatever the RA bullshit watch is. And that's a bullshit. Hey, Navy, the RA watch is bullshit.
Well, like, do they do it as like a Sapper Rover Patrol thing or whatever? Because they had us doing that shit at the barracks. And I'm like, the fuck do you think? Like, I mean, there's a chance, I guess, that something happens and you hear someone scream and you can come running. But like, what are you preventing by like walking around there? You could just have AMAs roll through occasionally, like just so that, like, it's like you never know when they're going to walk around the corner or something. But like,
it's tacked onto it. It's tacked.
Like we were preventing shit. Like, what are we doing? Put up cameras and fences with codes, and because that was a big thing. They were always talking about like people that aren't residents are in the barracks. I'm like, okay. Like when I was at SEL, a CSA school, we had that whatever. I know why. It was because the Air Force built the building. They had a motion sensing DVR camera system that was like a fucking casino in Vegas. So like anytime something happened, you just walk back, search for motion, all the clips pop up and you're like, there it is. And you just pop it up. You're like, is this you walking in with a giant thing of vodka? Or is this you sneaking into this girl's room? And it's like, I don't need you to say yes. I got a fucking video. And then so it was like, I'm like, why don't you just put up a gate with like where they can like use their, you know, like hotels, how you can go to like a Motel 6, you use your key to get in the side door or whatever. Yeah, I mean, like just make a fence, where you got to use your barracks key to get in. It's like, if you don't got a barracks key, you're not getting in. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, could like Seaman Timmy let somebody in? Sure. But that's what the cameras are for. It's like, come on, man. Anyway,
in the barracks I lived in. So, when I first get there,
tangent.
When I first get there, I try to do the right thing, right, Will? Yeah. So I try to like make sure the door's shut and shit. So every round I do, every hour you do a round, every hour the door back jammed open. Like they putting big ass rocks in the door and shit like that.
I'm like, so what am I even doing? Because every other rover patrol ain't unjamming that fucking door every time they find it like that. They're just like, whatever.
Yeah. They just walk through it. Like, this door is open. I'll have to open it.
Because then you don't got to go through the front, right? You close to your room. So one day, right? One of the sellers, because I don't like to look like I'm the RA, right? So one day I ran into a seller. He's like, yo, what you doing? I'm shutting the door. Now I feel like a fed, right? I feel like I'm a fed because I got caught. He like, hey, what you doing, man? I was like, yo, I'm shutting the door. He was like, nah, we leave it open so, people can go through. I'm like, it's not, it ain't supposed to be, man. Like, it's supposed to be shut. Like, it's the safety for us.
If it was supposed to be open all the time, there wouldn't be a door. Like, it's just the fucking nature of doors.
Yeah. But then the illogical part about that was our front door was always open and unlocked. There wasn't a CAC scan or anything. So I was like, why the fuck am I doing this anyway? Right?
Exactly.
But, but that's that, right? So that was the RA life. Not really, I wouldn't really wish that for anybody, honestly, except if you want to do it, right? But then I come to this command as a command. So I go to on a carrier, for instance, Life is Life, whatever it is. The ship was in a yard, so the galley was down. So that was that. And then you go in the yards, they got those restaurants, those roach coaches, and all the stuff they got in the yards for you to just keep eating, right? So then I go to my new command, and I'm like, hey, man. So my new command is the same command that I lost 90 pounds at, right? So I got like this love kind of story with the gym. I'm like, yo, I cannot wait to go to the gym. It's the gym. My life, this gym changed my life, right? So I got this connection with this gym. I called a dude I'm relieving and I'm like, hey man, like I'm gonna get in the gym. He's like, hey man, the gym closed, man. It's closed down. I said,
what?
Damn.
So the gym closed down for like maintenance. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's another gym down the road. I just go there. They didn't change the hours to the gym. It ain't open at the regular time. Then we got this 7:30 meeting that we got to go to and be on. So my time now, my whole gym, as soon as I get there plan is kind of done. And then I get like a commute. I got a commute. So I got a 40-minute commute. And that's a sliding scale in the morning, right? Is when you got to go to work because you want to be there on time. I want to be at work before the 7:30 meeting, right? So that happens. So then it gets to this point where I'm working super hard, probably harder than I probably need to be, for the job that I'm doing. And not saying that the job don't require hard work, but I'm going.
You can overdo anything.
I'm like, I'm going way too hard. So it started to get to this point where now everything about my lifestyle is just unhealthy. Honestly, not drinking that much though, but still probably drinking a little bit. But I would be leaving work. Let's say I'm getting off work at 1900. There's no way I should get off work at 1900 on show duty. No way at all, right? But let's say I'm getting off work at 1900. I'm going to go to 7-Eleven. I'm going to grab a hot dog on the way home. I'm going to eat the hot dog. And then I'm going to, drive home. Now, mind y'all, while all of this life is happening, no matter how much I weigh, I'm still taking these fucking Vita Packs from GNC. Right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So let's rewind this one time when I'm at NDW and I'm filling in for my CMC, right? Because this kind of changes things. So at some point I stopped drinking anything that had to do with caffeine. So instead of taking the Vita Pack with the caffeine pill, I would take the stem free shit, right? But at some point, so I'm on and off the Vita Pack, but like for the most part, I would say I'm on it. But I go to this Cub, right? A commander, like a brief with like a whole bunch of COs and the Admiral. And I'm filling in for the regional CMC. So I'm working with the Admiral. Bro, I'm tired as shit, bro. And I'm falling asleep. I'm hurting, right? And this might have something to do with sleep apnea that I'm about to talk about soon. I'm hurting, yo. I'm tired. I look over. It's like a commander. She looking right at me.
So
there's always somebody looking at you.
But listen, I'm filling
That's the
in
funniest
for the,
shit.
Right. I'm filling in for the regional CMC. So I'm right by the Admiral. You know what I mean?
Hell.
I'm right by the Admiral. So the commander, she looking dead at me, right? So then
You're
I
like
look
the
at
dude when the CNO comes and does an all hands call that's assed out in the seat, just like, and then you see the Regency and you go, and fucking send 10 Chiefs over there to light you on fire.
Yeah, the only difference is I was the Regent CMC. So
how the turntable.
yeah. So it's all over, and I'm like, hey man, you know, I said something like, hey man, thanks for catching it. I'm sorry I couldn't. She was like, it is what it is, but like you was falling asleep, like
need
right
to do
next
something
to the
about
Admiral.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, but do y'all want to guess what my solution was?
Caffeine, that's what
Caffeine.
dude. I probably got them in this room. I got like jars of caffeine pills, man. I got all the sleep apnea. I got diagnosed with insomnia and generalized anxiety. So all I have everything conspiring against me getting good sleep. So it's just like the only way I get through life is with caffeine. But I finally got off. Well, for the most part, I got off energy drinks. And I just started taking, it's just caffeine. Like that's all that's in the pill. So instead of like drinking coffee and everything that can come with that, with like cream and sugar, and then like energy drinks have sugar unless you get the sugar-free ones, but then they got a whole bunch of other shit in it that's not good for you. So it's I finally got on just just for the most part.
Shit, I'm still in the coffee realm.
Yeah. You can navigate that in a healthy way.
Yeah,
though, I feel like.
you straight.
I
You know,
don't know.
if you
unless it's cream and sugar with a little bit of coffee in it. Yeah, like if you're getting pumpkin spice fucking shit with whipped cream and sugar sprinkles and shit. Yeah. That's probably.
Yeah, I have the frother at the house. I got the syrup. I got the sauce. I got the whole thing.
Wife, I just got her a new like buffet thing that some lady refinished. It's really cool, but like it's, I mean, it's 5 feet long, and she's got her cappuccino machine. It's got the steam wand, and she's got like she's a coffee wizard, man, and she's got all the toys.
Just hook up something real quick. With all that sugar, and
she grinds the beans and fucking makes the espresso and mixes the shit, and she's like a chemist.
Yeah. So now I'm drinking coffee again, or some type of caffeine, right? So then it gets to at some point where I'm taking the Rit Pack, which has caffeine in it, probably like 200 or 300 like milligrams of caffeine, which I never knew about. I never really paid attention to
fucking
the milligrams
rookie. Jesus. 200-300 milligrams.
Right.
We're talking about 200-300 milligrams of caffeine, you fucking Nancy.
Right.
I got 400 milligrams of caffeine in me before lunch, dog. Come on.
Yeah. See? So listen,
those are rookie numbers. You got to get those numbers up.
I won't be. I won't be.
He's like, that's the point.
I'm taking that, right? And then it ain't doing shit for me. And it's probably because of the sleep apnea, which I'm about to talk about. So eventually by like 1400 or something, I'm taking an energy drink, right? So now I'm getting up to somewhere between 400 and 500 milligrams a day. And that's my life for the next however many, years and some change. So now back to me being at the new command. Working 40 minutes away, driving there early, summertime. I went 2 summers without having an AC. That's on me. Like that ain't on nobody else. You know what I mean? It's shit like a microwave when it's 95 degrees, and no matter how fast you drive it, right? So now, and then on top of all this, I got a daughter that's 9 months old, and that like we kind of living our life on her schedule, right? So, and I've always told myself that, like, and I think a lot of people do it, like, hey, when I get a sign, that's when shit gonna change, right? I used to watch my granddad eat, like, go to the restaurant, like shout out to the people in Philly, but Nifty 50s, for instance, like a restaurant that sell, they got like 300 flavor milkshake and these Texas hot dogs and all this shit. And he used to go get like a salad and some soup. And I used to be like, yo, what type of life is he living? Yo, you about to get a salad and soup at this place? Man, you get the Reese's mixed with the Snickers, whatever, right? So I get to this point now at my command. I think the first thing happens is I sprain my knee. Right? Because now we got the PFA coming up. I want to be in standards and shit like that. Still taking my Rit Pack, running,
And then like I think Aaron Paul, his crew, they started up a run club, and I wanted to compete, so I started doing 8 miles a day. Shit like that, just out of nowhere. Like, hey, I'm doing 8 miles a day today. You know what I mean? So 8 miles a day, right? I used to do this. Remember?
I used to do it.
At this age. I used to be able to squat snatch 275. That doesn't mean I can do it now. I'd die.
Right.
I wouldn't even get that off the ground right now.
Our bodies are not built like that no more.
All them tendons and all, whatever it is, the ligaments, you could feel, I could feel them bitches look like somebody shaking jacks inside my damn knees, right? But I did it for like a week, and then like after that week, I tried to play basketball, I hurt my knee, so I sprained my knee. I go to the hospital as a result of this. At some point, I go to the hospital, and she'd say I got arthritis, right? She's like, hey, you got arthritis, boom, 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 knee. We talked about it on the pod. So it's like arthritis in both knees. So I'm like, okay, damn, I got arthritis in both of my knees. What type of person am I? All right, let me find all the arthritis books, how to diet with arthritis, how to eat, how to live with arthritis. So boom, I got arthritis in both my knees. Not even a week later, I get a headache, and this headache lasts for like 2 days.
Damn.
Straight. And I'm used to getting headaches. I get
a lot of headaches too, but
bro.
Not for 2 days straight.
2 days straight, right? Now, mind you, since I'm already used to getting headaches, the shit that I'm probably going through now, and I probably went through before, but never thought about it. You know what I mean? So I get this headache, but I'm like, yo, this is too much. My wife is like, you should probably like, because I'm like, I can't like last with this shit. I'm fucked up. I can't do shit. So my wife like, you should probably go to urgent care, ER, whatever one. I forgot which one it was. So I go. I tell my. I went to work. And she told me that when I was at work, you should probably go to urgent care. I go from work to the base clinic. They take my blood pressure. It's crazy. It's a crazy number, like a real crazy number. And they like, and before I left my last command, when I went to check out, they took my blood pressure and they was like, hey man, it's getting up there. Be careful. But now, like, so now they take it. It's crazy. I forgot what it was. Even that number though, my CO was like, hey, that ain't nothing. But it was a crazy number. Like, that's it. Just like you said.
Isn't it weird? Like we all just like, they tell you some crazy shit like that and you're just like, psh. Like, because it's so normal.
We embrace the app. Yeah,
we've just normalized this. Like, oh, well, of course it is. Look what you fucking do for a living. Quit being a Nancy and get back to work.
Exactly. The more broken you are, the better sailor you are.
It's like a badge of pride or something.
So and mine was, it was like 190 over 85 or something like over 9. It was something crazy. So they worried about my heart rate wasn't crazy. So they worried about me. They do all the tests. They do all this stuff. I think this is like
I freak nurses out because I'd be taking those caffeine pills just to function. So I'd take like 1 or 2 caffeine. So it's like 100 or 200 milligrams of caffeine at once. I usually only take 1, but I'd take it and then I'd go into one of my like cancer monitoring appointments and they'd be taking my blood pressure and they're like, your pulse is like 97 right now. Are you okay? And they were like, they thought I had white coat syndrome or whatever, where I was like afraid of doctors. And I'm like, no, it's caffeine. Trust me, I'm fine. I mean, it's just probably not healthy, but like, it's not, I'm not having a heart attack. I'm just fucking.
The fact that you purposely did it just to fuck with them, though.
I started to. I didn't originally. Before, I was just, when I'd feel this wave of fatigue, I've got them in my pocket and I would just drink some water and take a pill. But then, I started fucking with I started fucking with the nurses or like the aides or whoever, like the people that come in and then just like onboard you for your appointment or whatever. But
and y'all know what, man? I never knew how ashamed I would feel to talk about like my lifestyle. Until this doctor came and started talking to me and was like, hey, what you taking? You know what I mean? I'm like, well, in the morning, I take an elderberry. They was like, well, what do you take the elderberry for? Right? I'm like, I don't know. Like somebody said it was like
somebody said it was good. I heard it on a podcast or something.
Then I realized I was like, damn, I don't even know why I'm fuck up. Like, what's the benefits of elderberry? Like, why the fuck am I taking
that? Came out during COVID. Or it was a big thing during COVID.
Yeah, zinc.
I heard Nas talk about it on the song.
Vitamin D.
I heard Nas say something like, it must be good.
Let's talk about where you're getting your nutrition advice from, sir. I'm not saying Nas is unhealthy. I think he's the best rapper alive, but also maybe not from Nas. I'm just saying.
Yeah, man.
I don't think he has a high level of knowledge on nutrition supplements.
It just rhymed.
If I had to guess.
So
like, Nas,
what else you
what's an
taking?
elderberry? He'd be like, I don't fucking know. It just rhymes.
Yeah, you say the same thing. Like, hey, my man put me on it and shit. So he's like, what else you taking? I'm like, I'm doing a Rit Pack, and then I'm like, hey, then I'm drinking caffeine. And, then I'm like, oh, shit. He was like, well, how many milligrams is the stuff in the Rit Pack? I was like, I don't know. He was like, what's all in a Rit Pack? But what pills? I was like, it's 2 clear pills, a white pill. He's like, what are they?
Is
I'm
it?
like, I don't know. He's like, well, you're gonna have to take a screenshot of this shit, right?
Yeah.
So they send me to like medical, and I get, that whole process happens, and they wound up telling me to take 2 days off work and whatever. I leave medical. I mean, I go back to work in 2 days. Now, my wife don't want me driving all this shit, right? And I'm listening to her because it makes sense to listen to her at this time. So I go to work, and the day I get to work, it's a Lyft driver that's taking me, and he made a lifestyle change, right? This dude, so he's like 65, and he talk about his life, and he like inspired me a little bit because he was talking to his wife, and he like, hey, like at some point you got to realize you drank all the alcohol, you ate all the chicken, you did all and I was like, I took that shit. I'm like, damn, maybe we left all inspired by each other. Like, oh, maybe it was meant to be for me to take this ride today,
right? Yeah.
So I get to work, right, and I have a meeting. We got this meeting, this admin meeting that I'm like so ready for and prepared for, ready to go, right? It's just me, like, even though I was out for 2 days, I want to come and be ready for this shit, right? So I'm fucking ready as fuck, right? Sorry, Mom. So the CO, I think somebody told me to take my blood pressure. And I'm like, that's cool. And then the CO like, no, take your blood pressure like right now. I got the machine. So the machine ain't really work. And, because
does he have blood pressure?
He got his own.
I was like, why does he just keep it in his drawer? Just fucking gets done yelling at somebody. He's like, all right, I just want to see how I did. Take your blood pressure. Put this cuff on really quick.
He got his own.
Yo, that's wild. That's wild.
Before Stephen Timmy,
let me get this blood pressure cuff on you. That's why that shit's so funny to me. That's so wild.
He just got blood pressure in the tuck, bro. So he pulls it out at like mid-meeting.
It's a wonder I didn't rob banks as a child.
The batteries ain't work. Look, the batteries wasn't working, so I'm like, it's cool, y'all. Batteries ain't work. Cool. They like, no, we got
we're getting batteries. You don't go. You're not leaving.
It's like this whole command function now. I'm like, hey, look, man.
Look, does everybody know my HIPAA information? What the fuck? So
the admin sec comes and she like, yo. So I go back to my my office for I go to get my notes because I'm ready. She come from the CO's office to my office like, yo, let's go to the hospital. I'm like, nah, I gotta go back to the meeting. She like, no, let's go to the hospital. Right. Yeah. So we go back to the clinic.
I'm not asking, I'm telling. Let's go to the hospital.
Yeah, she took me to get food, like some nourishment and all of this shit. We get to the clinic. And they read my shit again and pretty much tell me not to go back to work until Monday or something like that. Now I'm gonna get done with this shit. So I get back on Monday. I get told to take a lot of tests, like urinalysis, more shit, sleep study. So I do this. They put me on pressure pills. Another like rude awakening moment for me. Like, oh shit. Last week they told me I have arthritis. This week I'm on fucking blood pressure pills. Like, how old am I? Like, what the fuck? That's just my own thoughts, y'all. So for the listeners, it's my thoughts. Like, what the fuck is going on in my life? Like, I was looking for a sign. Here it is. So then he give me. So then I go do the urinalysis, and I do the next week. I think I do the sleep study. And I go back from the sleep study, and somebody in there was like, "Yeah, I passed." Somebody was like, "I failed mine," and somebody was like, "You know,
it's
like
not a
even
pass
that
fail event, guy.
So somebody was like, "Yeah, I passed mine." My shit, I was like 35 or fucking every hour. I woke up 35 times, and people was like, "Oh shit!"
Bro, my pulmonologist, my sleep doctor, my pulmonologist, like, fucking looked surprised when I sat down. Like, they said I had the worst sleep apnea they've ever seen. That's like, and there's the two, how there's the two different kinds. There's like the obstructive and general, where it's like one of them is more like a you just do it, like you just stop breathing for whatever reason. This is the way I understand it. I'm not a sleep apnea expert, obviously, but and then the obstructive is like your tongue and throat, like it's like a physical thing where your jaw goes back and it obstructs your airway. And I do both apparently.
Damn.
And then I have insomnia from a mental health standpoint and other shit too. So yeah, but like that sleep pulling out, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it was so bad. But I mean, I had a cancerous tumor in my fucking sinuses that was going into my brain. So it's probably a unique case because I got that sleep study I got done after I got done with cancer treatment. So I'm probably just, a real like a perfect storm of fucking sleep issues.
That's what it sounds like.
That's wild. They told me
it's a lot better than it used to be, but
they said 44 times an hour. They said, hey, severe 44. So tomorrow I'm doing a test with the CPAP, right? So tomorrow I'm doing a test with the CPAP, and I made fun of you.
Yeah, I bet you it'll help, man. Like I'm even like I've had a CPAP for a long time, and I used to have a full face mask, and because of the shit that was going on with I had a severely deviated septum already, and then the tumor thing for whatever reason happened later, but I could not sleep with the full face mask because I couldn't breathe through my nose, and then I'd mouth breathe, and then it gets dry, and then I just couldn't do it. I could not, like, what do they call it? Like compliance or whatever. But then once they fixed everything, the nose one, like now that I can breathe through my nose like a normal person, it's like, you get used to it. It takes a while to get used to it. And they tell you to like wear it around the house when you're awake, just to get used to cause you're going to be awake when you put it on. It sounds stupid. But like, just do it like read a book in bed and wear it while you're awake, but don't like turn the machine on. Just to get used to having it on. And then you get, the nose ones that I got, I mean, they're comfortable. Like it doesn't bother me at all anymore. The issue for me is I have all these other things conspiring to keep me awake. And so the easiest thing I can do, and the first thing I usually do is take that shit off to try to help me get to sleep in general. And then I'll wake up for go to the bathroom or just because. And that's when I'll put it on because it's easier for me to fall back asleep than it is for me to fall asleep initially for whatever reason. Cause my brain just fucking is redlining all the time. And so like, I don't want to talk about it too much, but I use legal substance recreationally to help for me. It's legal for me in the state I live in. So that helps me a lot as well, where it like shuts that whatever that like function is in my brain that generates the anxiety and stuff. Like because I have a negative association with sleep. And a big part of it, I think, is just the culture of submarines. And like, they would like legitimately like give you shit if you were in the rack for more than like 5 or 6 hours. And it like just from the very beginning of my time on submarines, sleep was kind of like demonized. Like you were weak if you slept. And then like on the opposite side of that, even on my last submarine, there's this A-Gang Chief Dave. He just retired. I love this dude to death, but like that man just didn't sleep. Like he would just stay up for days straight. And I mean, he was standing watch on no sleep. He was fixing fucking complex, dangerous equipment. And you'd see him, he'd come into the chief's mess, he'd log into a fucking computer, and then he'd just start going like this and just fucking, and we'd like sit there, we'd be watching a movie, or I'd be on the computer usually auditing paperwork, and he's right next to me at the table, and like he's doing that, and we're watching a movie, and he's like snoring, and we would just sit there, and he would just take like a 30-minute nap in a chair, like just hunched over like this. And it's like, and nobody ever talked to him about it either. Like they were just like, Dave, like go to sleep, bro. Like, why are you still awake? I don't know. Insane. Sometimes
that shit's a waste. Sometimes going to sleep, right? And this again ain't the best idea, but sometimes it's a waste of time on a ship.
Sometimes, yeah.
Like, I mean,
like we had on submarines, especially like in relation to drills, we would always say, don't wait on drills, or don't wait on anything, go to sleep. And people would not want to, because you're going to get woken up by a ship's alarm. But it's like, sometimes you wouldn't, because shit would go wrong and they would like cancel a drill, or they'd have to have a critique, or something would just take too long and you'd be able to get 2-3 hours down because the drill wouldn't start on time or whatever. So it's like, they'd always say, don't stay up for drills. Like, just go to the rack because you got to get sleep when you can. But it's like that. There's nothing fucking healthy about that circadian rhythm if you're getting woke, because you're not like you're just getting woken up regular. You're getting woken up like, holy shit, there's flooding. Like, get the fuck out of the rack. Like general alarms going off for the fucking, we're doing an emergency or whatever. Like it's not normal.
And like, man, just to sum up, all of what I got, it's like this. Yeah. Don't wait for the sign, like for anybody listening, like, bro, because the sign for me was a 2 to 3 day fucking headache that like was the worst feeling I ever had. Yep. Like I can't imagine what like a gunshot feels or something like that. That 2 to 3 day headache was the worst shit I ever had experienced. It was no relief, no pill could fix it. Yeah. Literally, I had to go to the ER. I had to get it on IV.
Blood pressure driven, right? So like, it was. You can't fix that without it was blood pressure medication, driven. I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like this circulating thing because the blood pressure is giving me the headache, but then the pain, the headache, like the pulsating and the pain from the headache is affecting my blood pressure. So it's like it's a feeding itself, right? And it was fucking crazy. So they had to
a negative feedback loop.
Yeah, just to get me to sleep for a couple hours, they had to put me on an IV. Push a bunch of shit inside me and shit like that. So from that point on, like my whole lifestyle changed in that short time, right? As far as what I eat, what I drink, a lot of veggies, a lot of fruit, learning about more smart foods, getting more acquainted with my yogurts, my teas, my water, all the shit that we know we should eat.
Yeah.
All the time that we just don't really think about, right? And this ain't only a story about food, because it's really more of a story about burnout for me. And it came in the place of because the mental, I've always, like in my opinion, I feel like I've always operated at some kind of mental dielectric fucking strength anyway, where it's like, I don't know what the end is here. But like my health is like, no, your knees fucked up, your blood pressure's messed up. You got to stop and think about like your life and what you got going on. So I know that I'm not the only person, with that story in the Navy. Yeah. And I know that for sure, right? We got like stories about, people getting cancer, like other things.
My story, yeah, man. I mean, it's not unique. It's like I've talked to so many people where sometimes it's like mental health focused, right? Yeah. Like I talked to an electrician that just separated with a med board recently, that his was like sleep deprivation leading to acute mental health issues. I mean, it was stress and everything too, but leading to severe mental health issues and like panic attacks and just meltdowns. And he felt like he was having a heart attack and he thought he was dying, and turned out it was panic attacks. And a lot of it was sleep deprivation driven, but like, same thing for me. It's like mine was more like an aggregate of a lot of shit, I think. But like the theme being burnout. Like it was I didn't know how to do the job any other way than the way I did it. And the way I did it was like, I was fucking redlining for 21 years, man. And like, I'm on shore duty as an instructor at the A school. I was at work till 9 at night some nights. And it was because they'd put me in a job. And pretty much without fail, every time I would get in a new position, and I'm sure you guys have had the exact same experience at least once, everything's fucked. Everything. And so like, I'm like, God damn it, I gotta fucking fix this. And I love my cooks, but we have a unique talent for just not even opening the reference that governs the thing we're in charge of and just fucking pretending. And like the person you relieved gave you some tribal knowledge passed down, and you're just like, I'll just do that. And it's like, so then I get it and I'm like, okay, where's the reference? And so they made me, so first I reported and I was going to be an instructor, and I did my first class to get certified as an instructor. And then I got a big mouth and I was like pointing at all this shit that I thought was wrong or we could do better or whatever. And they didn't like that very much. So they banished me to the barracks to be the NMT chief, like to run all the NMTIs, right? I'm like, all right. Like I thought that was cool as shit. So they put me over there and I said, okay, where's the reference? And they gave it to me and I read it and I'm like, wow, we're not doing any of this shit. Like they were just sending people over there and putting a rope on them and like fucking no qual card, no fucking nothing. Like just, it was brutal. So like I had spent like 3 months and I got lucky and he was an FT2, I think, when he showed up, maybe a FT1. I can't remember, but he showed up and he had been an NMTI already at Corey Station where they train CTs. And so he knew exactly what right looked like, thank God. And so I had him and the book, and between me, him and the book, we spent 3 months on fucking it. And I was there late a lot because I was just like, it's not done. Like I gotta fix it. And it's like, you just fucking can't fix everything in one day. And I damn sure shouldn't be at work until 9 at night unless the building's on fire. But that was my life. I was either single, no kids, or like my wife, my now wife, we started dating, but it was distance. Like I was in Virginia and she was here in Washington. And then after that duty, I got back here to Washington. But, so I was just me and my dog at home. So like, yeah, I had to go home eventually, but she had a doggy door. She'd be fine. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like it's all good. Yeah. And so, I got to where I was at the end of my last submarine. My sleep, I knew I had sleep issues. I knew I had a deviated septum. Guys were telling me to get a sleep study because I snored so loud and they wanted to smother me with a pillow and birthing. But like, they're like, dude, you got to get a sleep study. You clearly have sleep apnea. So then we get to the end of going to sea. We were about to go to the shipyard and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this fixed. Cause I was able to like willpower and like substance my way through it with like caffeine and shit until the last like year probably on that submarine. I went off a cliff. Like my cognitive ability just disappeared. Like I used to have, basically like they call it like I think like eidetic memory or like a photographic memory essentially. Like I didn't have to take notes. I didn't write shit down. I barely studied for exams. Like I was that guy. That last year, I couldn't remember what I fucking did an hour ago. I had sticky notes everywhere to remind me of shit. I had this book full of notes and all this stuff. I would have my LPO texting me. I'm like, dude, just after I leave, when you leave, or if you leave first or whatever, just text me to remind me to do this thing. Otherwise, I'm going to forget. And it was ridiculous. And so then I go to get the deviated septum surgery because I'm like, I got to sleep better. Like that, I just assumed it was the sleep thing. And I'm like, I'm sick of feeling this way. And it got really, really bad where I was so fatigued. There's this one time me and my wife were at a grocery store and I would just get these waves of fatigue where I'm in the middle of a grocery store, just doing grocery store things. And I was in my mind having like this internal dialogue about, I just wanted to lay down on the floor and not move. Like, and I dead ass considered it more than once. Yeah. Like, I was just like, I don't think I can keep being vertical. Like I was just like, I get these just waves of fatigue where I was just like, fuck, man, I gotta stop. And so I went in to get the deviated septum surgery. And I mean, like Damo knows the story, but basically it just snowballed into, next doctor. Actually, it's more complicated, next doctor. And then I have a cancerous tumor in my face. And this is right as COVID's blowing up, March 2020. So I get the tumor removed. It was going into my brain and all that. So they remove it. And then I feel better than like after I recovered, like I was in the hospital for like 4 days and probably couple weeks after the surgery. I had like 3 weeks between the surgery and radiation therapy. And like a week and a half, 2 weeks after the surgery, I felt better than I had in my entire adult life. And because I could breathe and I was sleeping better as a result, even though I still have sleep apnea and stuff, I felt much, much better. And I was like, holy shit, like, and then, radiation was its own shitty experience. But then on the other side of that, it started to get better. But then during the like I was terrified of the brain surgery. They put you under. They talked about if they couldn't go through my nose to get to it, they're going to have to like split me ear to ear, pull my face down, cut my forehead out, relax my brain back and go in this way. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So I'm like, I might die. Like this is not like a guaranteed I'm going to wake up and be fine. So I was freaking out about that. We did a whole bunch of shit. Like me and my wife got legally married before we had planned to, even though I had already, like we were engaged already, but I like panicked and we got legally married just so she'd get all my shit if I died. And then when I got on the other side of the surgery, I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm good now. Like the radiation therapy is easy and they're telling me I'm going to be fine. Like the surgery went well. So as long as I complete radiation therapy, they're like 98% chance of better. You're never going to have another issue, even though there's like tertiary effects from like the radiation and all that shit. But then as soon I went to the first radiation appointment and like, it's a cumulative thing. So like when you get your first one done, like I didn't feel any different like before or like after than I did before, right? Like it takes weeks for that to kind of start to build. And then you get like the nausea, I had like sores in my mouth and all this weird like burns and all this shit. I lost hair, all the cancer things, right? But the very first appointment, I went in, did it, came back out. I was driving. My wife was with me though. And I get in the car and just start ugly crying. Like I immediately just broke down, basically like had a mini panic attack. And my wife's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not consciously like worried about this anymore. But like, it pulled the pin on this grenade of like all the shit that built up to that point. Cause I was having anxiety issues. That's part of why I wasn't sleeping at sea. And then, it's just the cumulative stress of me redlining for that long. And so all my mental health fell apart. Mm-hmm. So then I spent 6 months in therapy, working my way back. And then I get to a point where I'm doing really well. Like I'm sleeping well. I started doing jujitsu because that's something I always wanted to do. And it was like my outlet for physical fitness. And there are a lot of veterans at the gym and stuff. So it was good. It was just good. It was really good for my mental health and obviously my physical health as a result of it just being a physical activity. But I'm pumping gas. I had just done jujitsu for like 5 days in a row and I was pumping gas and I felt fucking incredible. And I'm like, this is insane. Like this has never happened to me in my life. Even when I was doing CrossFit, when I would have a really good week, I was always exhausted at the end of it. Like I was never... I felt like I could have went to the gym after jiu-jitsu. It was insane. And I'm like, God damn, this is nuts. And I remember thinking that, like, I can't believe I figured this out and I'm doing so well. As I'm having that thought, my brother and 2 nieces are being murdered. And then I'm like, it just went off a fucking cliff. And I'm still on medication, like an SSRI and in and out of therapy and all that. But like, then that last 6 months was like the mental health. I was on Limdu for mental health for the rest of basically the rest of my career. And then the physical stuff, the hits just kept on coming. So that's essentially why I retired. There's other reasons, but that's pretty much what did it. Was like what Damo just described. Like the theme of your entire story was just like, I got this fucking reality check that I am not 10 feet tall and bulletproof, that I cannot shoulder more of a load than all these other mere mortals as I used to believe. Like I really thought I was built different and I could just do more and go farther and I just had something that other people didn't have. And it's such a fucking arrogant thing to believe, but I didn't consider myself an arrogant dude exactly. I knew I was good at certain things, but I really just thought I could outwork everybody. And I did for a very long time. So then it's like, you're kind of validating your own assumptions by doing that, where I was promoting and getting awards and getting good evals and all that shit. And I would make people look silly sometimes by doing things the way that I would do it. And they're just like, God damn, you're really good at this. And I'm like, to me, it wasn't a big deal. But then in your mind, you kind of, like it kind of builds on that cockiness or arrogance or whatever. And then I was drinking my own Kool-Aid and reading my own headlines. And then I thought I could just do everything. Like I thought I could be a good husband and we were going to have kids. And I thought I could do all that and be good at it. I thought I could go back to sea and be a cob and then be a command master chief and then be the MCPON or whatever the fuck happened. And I could just do all of it and get away with that, even though I had this thing kind of like looming over me for the majority of my career. Like the fatigue thing for me has been an issue since I was a kid. Like I remember going to a doctor appointment when I was like 13 complaining of fatigue and they gave me like a B12 shot and patted me on the butt. Didn't do anything, and then like from the very beginning in the Navy, I mean, I was doing like when you were talking about the Vitapaks, remember Ripped Fuel?
Yeah.
Like they used to sell it at GNC. Same thing, dude. Yeah. That was the first so I had the second class gave me a pill that was like some shit he got in the back of a magazine that I'm pretty sure it was like before ephedrine was illegal, like that shit that it was like meth or something basically. Like I think it was one of those. And I remember I took one of those things and I spent 2 hours manically cleaning the galley as my watch ended. And then I walked out of the galley on a Los Angeles class submarine and just fucking face planted on one of the bench seats. And I was like panting and sweating and I was red and I bombed a bunch of water. And I'm like, holy shit, don't ever give me one of those again. But then I'm like, well, what can I get that's not that, but that can give me that kind of a stimulant effect? And I found Ripped Fuel and that did it for me. So I was addicted to that. And then I got cracked out on Red Bull and then it turned into Monsters. And then it turned into, I'm trying to get healthy in my 30s. And then I'm like, I got to stop drinking this shit. Cause it would make me feel terrible. Like I'd get the stimulant effect, but then it would make me feel really bad. And I was getting like, my heart rate would get elevated randomly and then crashing and all that other shit. So then I just found caffeine pills and I've basically been doing that ever since, where I still am reliant on caffeine, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I'm taking better care of myself, but even now, like ever since cancer. So I'm like 3 years post radiation, basically, I think almost 4. I've never really I've had like some small like spurts, like when I did jujitsu for a while, I started to lose weight, got in better shape. And then mental health stuff would like, I'd stop going. And then it's like the longer gap between going, the harder it was to go back kind of thing. And then I'm just like, I don't know, I get in my head about shit. And so like, I've never really gotten back to like the type of fitness level and like just the attention to detail and taking care of myself that I used to. Like I still make efforts, you know what I mean? Like I try to eat healthy and I take a lot of supplements that are good for me. And I do my best to sleep well, even though it's fucking difficult because of all the things I have these things working against me, but I also don't always do the best job of like doing the things I know I need to do. Cause I wish I would have looked it up. I read this article when I was in school doing psychology stuff. And there's this term, I can't remember what it is, but it's basically describing a person that lets their feelings like in a moment dictate the decision that they're going to make. Right. And when my mental health is not doing great, I'm a feelings dude. Like I don't feel like doing that, you know, like I don't feel like eating a salad. I feel like eating some chicken tenders or a pizza. And cause it's like, it's like salving the wound. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's comfort food and they call it that for a reason or whatever, or I'm just going to go to bed. I don't want to work out, or I do cold plunges pretty religiously because I've found that it does a lot for my mood and my energy levels and just my body, like the knees and the elbows and the shoulders and all the things, right? Like, it helps a lot with a lot of things, but the primary thing is my mental health, it's bizarre, but you get the science behind it is you get this serotonin spike and then it doesn't like spike and then come right back down and crash. It spikes and then slowly bleeds down over the day. So it's like you get a big energy and mood boost from it too. And I stopped doing that because it's hard. Like I built the thing out of it's like a 14 whatever cubic foot chest freezer, and you get like a temperature control outlet and all this bullshit, but like that's neither here nor there. So I built it out and you're getting in it and it's like I just got in it right before the podcast. It was 43 degrees and I sit in there for 3 minutes and it's like, it's not like an easy thing to do. So like when your mood is not good, it's like, fuck, I don't want to do that. And like I'm in the Pacific Northwest. So like this time of year is starting to get rainy and shitty again. So you got to go out there and it's like 55 degrees and the rain and the wind. And you're just like, it's on my back deck right now. I'm going to put it in my garage eventually, I think, to make it easier. But like, it sucks. And so then I like talk myself out of doing those things. And then you kind of get back into that negative feedback loop. And like, I feel like shit. So I don't want to do anything, which for me, it's like at minimum, I need to like try to get some good sleep. I need to cold plunge and I need to like stretch or do yoga or both. Cause otherwise my body will get pissed. And I get what a doctor, well, he was a doc, like a IDC corpsman on my boat, described to me as, he called them ram's horn headaches, but basically like there's this muscle that like goes up and over. And I get like, I call them neck tension headaches, even though nobody knows what that means, but it's like, I get this tension built up in my shoulders and like upper back, and it just turns into a headache, and I can like feel it coming on. Then I get this gnarly ass headache, and so it's like if I don't stretch,
that was me like 2 days ago.
Yeah, if I don't do yoga and stretch, and I like mobility, I have like the foam rollers and the balls and all the tools and everything. If I don't do that stuff and I don't cold plunge and all that, I feel like shit. But then when I feel like shit, I don't want to do that stuff. Even though I know it's good for me. So it's like, I all the shit fell apart all at once, and then I'm still like, I thought for sure cancer was going to scare me straight. You know what I mean? Like kind of what Damo like was saying about his experience with the blood pressure, like instigating a big lifestyle change. I thought cancer would do that for me. And it has in a way, but like I wasn't cold plunging before cancer and I wasn't doing a lot of the other shit that I do before cancer, but also like, I'm still that emotional animal that like, if my mental health, if I'm not looking after it and I let myself slip, which I do, unfortunately. And I'm trying a lot harder as of late because it got kind of bad the last few months. And so I'm just like, fuck, I just can't keep doing this shit. Cause it's like a yo-yo, you know, like you're getting whiplash from all these fucking swings. And so, yeah, if I don't like stay on top of it, I end up in the same place. But I was not, for whatever reason, that like I fucking almost died. Like, and I'm like, and it still didn't do it. And I feel almost like guilty for not, for it not having that effect in a way. But like, at the same time, I'm just like, I am who I am. And I got to figure out how to address that part of me that is like letting the feelings dictate the decisions I'm making instead of like rational thought, right? Because if I let feelings dictate my decisions all the time, I would never get in that cold plunge fucking ever, you know, because fuck that, it sucks. But like after I get out, I feel incredible. So it's like, I've just tried to start installing these things in my mind, these like mental shortcuts of like, when I start to do that, it's like, I already know I can do. I've cold plunged like hundreds of times at this point. Like I know I can do it. And if I go out there to do it, it's like, no, you're fucking doing it. Like you put these board shorts on, bitch, you're getting it. Yeah. like, and it's like, and I already know that I can do it. So the feelings are fucking irrelevant. And there's something that has to happen in your mind to do that. And I'm not even saying I'm good at like creating those mental like shortcuts. But when I was in therapy, talking to my therapist, that was good. Like that's where I got a lot of it from. And so I'm using those things I learned before, but then I'm trying to get back into therapy again to address like kind of fixing my sleep issues and then trying to get more of those tools so that I can like, it'll make that easier and I can be more consistent and reliably do the things I know I need to do. And maybe other things that I don't know yet, to like maintain and improve my physical and mental health. But yeah, it's fucking, I can't say it. Like I talk about it on the podcast sometimes because I want people to know that like it can happen to, you know, the Master Chief that does the podcast too. And I think that it's important for people to know that like I went to see a psychologist while I was on active duty wearing Master Chief anchors. And so like, it's not, no one's above it. Like it didn't affect my career at all. Even though I was at the end of my career, I didn't know it at the time. Like I was still, I'm going to be a cop and CMC and all this shit.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just think that like, maybe I should talk about it more, but it's so important. And because of the nature of what we do and how we do it, it's like Damo just laid it out. He just gave a dissertation on how the entire structure of the organization and like the way in which we move through it as a result, it's built like the deck's stacked against you. It's built to not allow for physical and mental health to be looked after. And right. Very rarely are you even in the presence of people that are experts on that topic. And that can take you down a whole nother rabbit hole about like the acute mental health issues and, you know, suicidal ideations and attempts and the way that triads deal with them and it's just like, there's this fucking hellscape of these things that I don't, what always frustrated me about it was it doesn't seem like there's an understanding or even like a willingness to try to understand why these things are really happening. It's like everybody is redlining. And so like when higher ups are confronted with the reality of like, we have this just uncontrolled growth in acute mental health issues and attrition and unplanned losses and like terrible retention and even recruiting is not great, even though they are bragging on social media about meeting goal for the first time in a while. It's like, I don't know if I believe that entirely, but even so, it's like for the last several years, it's been a huge issue. And so it's like, if we're in that place, it's like the solution isn't to make re-enlistment bonuses bigger. Like fucking it doesn't even really work per se. Like, I mean, it does help keep some people around, but they're not going to stay around forever if they're intent on getting out. And then even if they do stick around, it doesn't fix the problems. You know, like you might still end up with an unplanned loss 6 months after they re-enlist. So it's like, at what point are you, it's kind of like the leadership incompetence thing. It's like, at what point are you going to employ like impartial experts that are external to our ecosystem inside the structure of the Navy and be like, okay, what are we fucking up? Because we have a guy, like we have a sleep scientist, Dr. Jim Cordell. He was a CO of several ships. So like he's one of us, right? But he's employed by the Navy to study our sleep and like mechanisms for improving it. And I had him on the podcast a few years ago, and it's like, he's as frustrated as I am about this shit, and he's on the inside and he's employed to do these things, but it's like, I don't think they listen to him. And so I'll never understand the like sailors are consumable resources model versus sailors are the only thing that matter, really. Like, I mean, there are other things that matter, but they matter less. Like the tip of the priority pyramid is these people that do the things. So it's like, if we have all these crazy complex warfighting systems, it's like, cool, it's a fucking paperweight or a floaty thing in the water tied up to a pier without the people on it that aren't just like trained and qualified, but also like healthy and happy and fit and ready to go do the damn thing, because it's so fucking hard already. You know, like it's already so much harder than almost every job on the planet that you could possibly pursue. Why would you not build every modality you possibly could around it to make sure that these people are just as happy and healthy and fit and ready to fucking go, enthusiastically do this really hard thing, and then come back, rest up, recuperate, recharge, do the things, train, qualify, and then go back out and do it again. I'll never understand.
Yeah. And the big thing is, like, a lot of us, we not going to do it on our own. Like I said, my admin assistant, she made me, I wasn't going to the fucking hospital, you know? Yeah. She made me go to the clinic, right?
Combination of my wife and a Master Chief IDC are the only reason I went to therapy. Like, I was never going to do it.
Yeah. The first time I went, I kind of went on my own, but it was because I was thinking about running over somebody with a car. So I knew something wasn't right at that point. Yeah. I was like, it might be time for me to go to therapy. And I did. And I was working a lot and lack of sleep. Yeah. Yep. I lived in Marietta, which is like an hour and a half from home, or hour and a half from work. So I was making that long commute, having to drop off the kids in the morning, going through a divorce. It was like a lot that was going on. And I kept putting myself last because mission, home, mission first. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, fuck me. I'm just going to keep plowing through. And I thought I was giving 100% when I was going to work, but I really wasn't. I'm really only giving probably about 20%, honestly. But I'm thinking in my head, like, oh no, I'm doing this. I'm just because I'm collecting those little accolades, like you said. But
it's that fear too of like letting people down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If I go down, if I'm not here, somebody's got to pick up my slack.
Exactly.
And I don't want to hurt my friends and put my team in that position. So like, we're not going to do it ourselves. Yeah.
Yep. We're just going to keep on going. But I mean, when I finally did, it was great while it lasted, and then work got hectic. And then guess what? I stopped going to therapy for like years. Stopped going. And I didn't go back until I was a year out, because I'm like, now it's time for me to like really start focusing on me. Yeah. I started to notice that I had migraines. I had migraines back then when I was going to therapy. Did not know it. If a sailor came to me and said, Chief, I have a really bad headache, I have light sensitivity, I would have been like, you probably got a migraine. You might want to go to medical. Yeah, you should go to medical and take care of that.
I'm going like this.
Right.
Why is the light in your office off?
I used to have the light. Exactly. The lights are off. I would have to lay down on the couch in my office, but never considered that I had a migraine. It wasn't until my cousin was like, yeah, I got migraines and this is da-da-da. And I'm like, damn, I've been doing that for years. My VSO, I did a podcast with him. And so like, I liked him so much, and he's so like proactive and wants to advocate for sailors and everything, like, or veterans rather, that, I'm like, I asked him for some help. He's like, do you want me to just be your full-time VSO? I'm like, fuck yeah, I do. You're better than every VSO I've ever met. But he told me today, like, I mean, a day after I sent him my DD-214 and like all the info he needed to like snipe me out of the system as his, he messaged me, he goes, hey, the VA wants you to do a claim for headaches and
like a bladder thing, because I have like an 80-year-old bladder and I'm 41, so it's like I complained about it and they just handed me a bottle of pills and I'm like, I'm not fucking taking pills for this. Come on, dude.
Right.
Like, try again. But they said they wanted me to do a claim for both of those things, and I'm like, neat. When were they going to tell me? You know what I mean? Like, so it's not even like the things we have that are supposed to take care of you even after you're done. It's like they're so bad at what they do that it's like they're not going to advocate for you to go to, like, unless somebody like you as the chief telling your sailor to go deal with migraines at medical, if you're not telling them to go do it and making it like a thing, like, no, you shall go do this. Yeah. It's like, no one's going to do that. But then when you go to medical, you don't even get the best care. You get, like Damo was describing something earlier where it was like, they told you to just stop running. I was like, fuck you, stop running, get the fuck out of here. Or like, there was something else you mentioned that like, it's like, now you're just on medication for blood pressure. It's like, okay, well, what do I do so that I don't have to be on medication? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Hey, what I do want to say, I want to like time, right? Like for the young sellers that's listening, right? Time is a tricky thing because it does two things, right? It ages you, right? And it's the part that, because we get a lot of sellers, man. It's a lot of that like fat chief stuff and all that. Like, you hear about that. Time ages you, but time also, like, whatever you're doing in the time that you're doing it, it's either making whatever it is better or making whatever it is worse, right? So now you compounding some bullshit. So let's say I'm living an unhealthy lifestyle. I'm compounding that unhealthy lifestyle as I'm aging, and all my body and shit is getting weaker anyway, right? So that's what, like, so some of y'all, right? Some of y'all young sellers, and I was one too, that's in the best shape of your life, right? Some of us, right? I'm going to say some of us, we not doing the right shit in that time that we have. Right?
You can get away with so much more shit when you're young, and you're unknowingly laying the foundation for all of the shit we're talking about.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like, I had a oncologist I asked, I was like, dude, I know you don't like know why people get cancer exactly, but like, gun to your head, why did this happen to me? I'm just curious. Cause like I did, like, if you grade me on a curve, I took pretty good care of myself most of my life outside of the holy shit work related stress, that we all have. It was like, I was always in the gym. I was always trying to eat healthy. And I didn't always succeed at this. Like, there were stretches where I did a bad job, but overall I was always trying, even if it was like half-hearted or whatever. I was always trying. And sometimes I did a really, really great job. And so I'm like, and I never smoked. I barely drank. Like I did the party phase from 21 to 24. And then I just quit drinking because I'm like, I never want to have a hangover again. And my 24th birthday was lit. So I was just like, I'm done. I can't. I can't take 2 days to recover. So I just quit drinking. And so like, never smoked, never drank, never really did. Like, I did some shit sometimes that was like, like when I'm super busy at work, I was stopping at Taco Bell every day on my way home, that kind of shit. But like, I was always trying to be in shape and trying to eat healthy and those sort of things. Right. And so I'm like, I don't really have any risk factor. Like, what's the vice that you could point at besides like energy drinks, I guess? I'm like, so, and he's like, dude, it's stress. He goes, it's work-related stress. He's like, I'm not telling you how to live your life, but if I was you, I would cut that out of my life immediately, because he's like, if you laid out every single cancer risk factor there is, he's like, the only one you have is work-related stress. But it's like, your work-related stress is like fucking so far beyond what normal people have that it's like that is a risk factor for cancer for normal people. Your fucking work-related stress is like off the charts. And so he's like, I can't point at anything else. And I was just like, fuck. I'm like, okay. That was a big driver of my retiring too. It was just like, because my next gig would have been a cob on a submarine. And it's just like, I would have been like what Damo was saying. I'd have been coming home at 9 at night. My wife would have cut my ass. Like because I was telling her, she thought I would never be able to get over not doing that job. Like she's like, I think you need to do it. Otherwise you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I thought that too at the time. But then at the same time, I'm like, I just know if I go do this, and God bless the submarine force, but those dummies gave me a waiver for all my shit. And they're like, yep, you can go back to sea on a submarine. I'm like, really? Really? I would have been on Limdu within 6 months. I would have, because I would have went right back to my workaholic ways, and my wife would have been pissed at me. So like home would have been shitty and work would have been shitty, and I would have fallen apart again. And so I'm just like sitting there trying to confront the reality of like, I don't think I can do it anymore. And then I finally talked to a mentor friend. He was my COB when I made chief, and like, he's like my chief dad basically. And he's like, I didn't even know I needed it, but he gave me permission to retire. He's like, dude, you don't have to go be a COB. He goes, you'd be a great one, but like, you don't have to do that. And he's like, and it's okay to retire without like chasing that brass ring, whatever it is, you know? Yeah. And it helped that I made 9 before I retired too. That was very, very validating for me. And so that was a wrap at that point. But yeah, I would have definitely been a dumpster fire inside 6 months of taking that job. And that would have hurt me more than not doing it, because I would have failed a bunch of people. I'm just like, that's too important to me. So I'm just like, I'm not gonna take the risk of fucking it up. Because I'm just not, I don't have the juice anymore, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And we have a good way of like ignoring the stress too, because we get so used to it. Yeah. I know, like with my job, it may not be like a lot of physical stress, and like we're not really heavy on the ships, but the things that we deal with are just heavy in nature. Essays, deaths, all the investigation, like it's just very heavy-hearted stuff, and we learn kind of how to block it out. And it's like on to the next case. You don't even really have a chance to process it before you go on to the next one.
But it doesn't go away though. Like it's always looming. So I feel like you're like compartmentalizing it. You're just like, I'll deal with that shit later. But it's not like,
it's not gone. And I didn't realize that it wasn't gone until I stopped working. Yep. And then all of that shit came like immediately. My first few months, like when I was on terminal leave, I was a hot fucking mess. Yeah, and then even after, like every day I just want to be under, just put me under my pillow every day. Like I didn't want to go out into the world. Everything just felt unsafe. I didn't know what the fuck. Like my mind was just all over the place. Yeah. I was going to therapy, but there were certain things that I just didn't want to talk about. So I would gloss over every fucking thing. Like I was like emotionless, just kind of in there and going through the motions, but really not getting to the root of what everything. I was like, no, I'm just here just to be here. Like I'm just here to satisfy my VA. That's it. Yeah. You know, I'm not really trying to go through the motions.
My therapist, he was great. But like this is how dumb I am. We talked. It was an active duty therapist, so I'm retiring, and so I couldn't keep seeing him, and so we were ending our therapy, and I was still on medication, so I've been taking Zoloft for like a couple years. I started it like 6 months before I retired, so it's been like 2.5 years. But I stopped. So like when I was leaving, we had this plan, and he thought I was in a really good place. And I asked him, I'm like, look, I just have this thing about like, I don't want to be on this medication for the rest of my life. Right. And so I was like, do you think it's a good idea? Like, do you think it would be okay if I like titrated off of it? And then, you know, like I could always go back on it. And then I can always go back to therapy if I need it. And he's like, it's kind of like if you feel ready, you can try doing it. I don't think it's a bad idea. And so like I did this under the supervision of my therapist, but like, looking back on it, I'm just like, God, this was dumb. We were both idiots. Because like it's an enormous transition. Like your whole life is getting upended. And I think people that haven't done it wildly underestimate the impact of like your sense of belonging just gets fucking deleted. Like your whole social structure
the whole hard drive is gone.
It's like just a hard reset. And you're like, what you have this really, really important piece of your psyche just fucking blown to bits, and you're like, you don't know what to do with it. Yeah. So my dumbass retires and stops therapy because he was an active duty therapist, so I couldn't see him anymore. But I was like, I think I'm good. I'm like, if I need to go back, I'll go back. But I also titrate off the medication. So then I talked to my therapist, and he goes, I kept telling him like, after the things happened with my brother and my nieces, it was I kept saying like I wanted to burn it all to the ground and just run away. Like I just like into the wild.
Yes.
Like I just wanted everything to fuck off, and I'll go live in a school bus in the middle of the Alaska wilderness or some shit. So and he
Who's
goes,
gonna be in the hut next to you?
Yeah. So he goes, okay. Well, what? So like, what does that mean? He goes, look, when was the last time you took a break? Like a real break. And I'm like, well, I mean, I used to take the 30 days of transfer leave and shit. He goes, yeah, but what did you do on that transfer leave? And I'm like, I caught up on real life. Like I was like doing projects around the house and fucking, like all the going and visiting family, doing all the things I couldn't do while I was redlining in the Navy.
Right.
And he goes, so when was the last time you had a break? I'm like, I don't fucking know. 21 years ago when I joined the Navy. Like, and he goes, so how unreasonable is it for you to feel this way? He goes, why would it? Because in my head, I was like, this is a bad thing. Like I shouldn't be thinking that I want to burn it all to the ground and just go off and do nothing. And he goes, why is that all bad? He goes, what's bad about you taking a year off? Like when you retire? And I was just like, I don't know. I'm not programmed that way. And it fucking makes me feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing or something.
Right.
But he basically talked me into it. So here's my plan. I'm retiring. I'm going to take at least a year off and do nothing. As I'm like winding down last few months, somebody posted something in a Facebook group about trying to find a subject matter expert for some job that's a CS. And they were looking for like a E6, E7 that was like separating or retiring. I'm like, oh, okay. So I open it to like thinking to myself, I'll just forward this to somebody that I know, right, in the community. And I open it and it's like my resume was used to create a job listing. And I'm like, this sounds amazing. It was like work from home, tiny bit of travel, but it was like decent money to like work from home and be a subject matter expert. So just be me, like, and just say, yeah, that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. Like I'm just like a screening step for them developing training for CSs. And I'm like, fuck, sign me up. Like I would love to do that. So here my dumbass is getting a job kind of by accident when I'm supposed to be taking a year off. That falls through, thank God. But in my brain, when it fell through, because the contract just didn't get awarded or whatever from the Navy side, I'm like, I got to replace this with something. So then I started full-time school. And like the medication wasn't all out of my system yet. So as the medication kind of bleeds off, 3 weeks into that semester, I was a fucking shit show. And I was just like, I had to stop school. I had to take a semester off, get back on my medication, fucking. And then I did start school again, but I took I think I took one class and I took a term off to like get it together. But even then, I mean, I was almost like, I almost just didn't go back to school either, but I didn't do anything. And then when I got back on my medication, I felt better again. It was like a light switch. And so I'm like, okay, I think I can take a class. I think I took one class that term and I felt good. And I was like, okay, I'll keep doing school, but that's it. I'm not fucking seeking out any. And then I was good. I finished school and then I got a defense contracting job kind of by accident. It was like an old boss called me and that's what I do now. But yeah, I mean, I had a fucking plan. Me and my therapist had this shit mapped out. But we've got this programming that you almost don't even recognize that there's like these background processes running and it influences your decision making and you almost don't even recognize it until you are encountering the problematic result of that decision making getting hijacked by that programming. And it's like, fuck, man, God damn it. Why am I like this?
Exactly. And I'm still going through the process now of figuring out what medication works. And that's stressful all in itself. It's like, nope. I got don't like so this.
Lucky, man. Like I got lucky. Like first therapist I got was amazing. The first medication we did, it was like we did 50 milligrams and my mood got better, but the anxiety was still really bad. So then they went up and then it was like, nailed it, and then I got lucky in a lot of ways that I feel like most people that go through therapeutic experiences don't, like where you get like this time around, I started with a therapist that, I mean, I think she's almost senile. Like, I went in for 3 appointments and I had to I explained my shit and then I had to explain it again. And then she's reading off notes and saying it wrong. And I'm like, are we going to do this every session? I feel like I'm talking to my grandma with dementia. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
You're not exactly. Will. I have a son named Will.
Yeah, right. It was so bizarre.
Yes. Yeah. My first therapist, as I was this second line of therapy. Yeah. This guy, when I went to take my notes, or I requested my notes so I could like put it with my VA stuff. Yeah. And I'm reading the notes and I'm like, what? Who the fuck told him this? Like, that's not, right. I'm like, who the fuck was this guy talking about? Yeah. I'm like, this is not what the fuck I said. I don't know. Because in half of the time during the meetings, I would say whatever. And then he would go off and start talking about something. And I'm sitting there like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? And so my psychiatrist is like, I feel like you see me more than you see your therapist. I'm like, that would be true. He's like, we have another one. Okay, let me try her because this guy isn't working out too well.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm switching it up right now, but I gotta figure that out.
The one that I have right now is a prior Marine.
I wish, man. I wish. I've been trying. Every time I apply at the VA, I'm like, I want to go to the VA, and they farm me out to community care. And I'm like, all right, fine. But like, it's like, because I'm a certified peer counselor, and they have those at the VA because a friend of mine, she's like a casual acquaintance that I met through I was connected with her through one of my professors at the college I went to for psychology because she works at the VA and she's a psychologist. Mm-hmm. So she was telling me most providers at the VA are not veterans because that's just like veterans don't go to school for this shit a lot. So,
right.
And if they do, I guess they don't work at the VA, which I feel that's counterintuitive, but I'm just assuming a lot of not enough veterans like go to like take this career path, I guess.
Right.
And so they started hiring what they call peer counselors, which you go to it was a 2-week class, I think. And the state, it was free. The state paid for it. And then I took a test and did an interview and got certified. And I tried to get hired. That's a whole other story. I didn't, obviously, but like that's because the VA is weird and I'm still trying to figure it out. But one of my VRE rep that was like, so voc rehab for college, she's trying to help me figure that out because I sent her my resume. She's like, that's really weird. They should have hired you. You're like overqualified. I'm like, right? That's what I thought. Like, but whatever. But a peer counselor is like bridges that gap. So like they hire a guy like me that's a veteran that has gotten certified so that they can, if they can't relate to the therapist, like you have to be somebody with lived experience. You have to have been in therapy for at least a year. And I don't know if being on medication is a requirement. I don't think it is, but like you have to have been in therapy. And so you have your own lived experience, your mental health journey, so that I can be basically, it's like an AA sponsor almost like you go to therapy, whether it's group therapy or individual therapy, but then to process all that and kind of support them in their mental health journey, they have somebody like me that can translate or can have conversations that therapist just isn't capable of because they don't have that lived experience. And so like, that's cool too. But like the VA's I'm not getting that from the VA. I'm getting like community care because we don't have anybody. Like we just don't have openings and shit. So which sucks. Yeah. And then, most providers aren't veterans. And so that's like why I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. And then I took a break because I got this job and because there's not schools locally that I need at least a master's to be a licensed mental health counselor. And so like, I'm just figuring out like how the fuck I can do this living where I live and actually get a degree that's accredited and that licensure will make sense and all that. But like, so it's also difficult. So I almost wish there was like that, they have like the programs where they have like, they created these pipelines where like soldiers, Marines, sailors can like expedite paths towards being like school teachers or something. It's like, okay, maybe we should do one where somebody can get an expedited portal to being like a licensed mental health counselor at the VA, what I mean? Because it's like, who better to have these conversations? And so like, I would love to get a veteran mental health counselor for myself. And I would like to be one eventually, but I got to get my own shit squared away first so I can do that. And yeah, it's that whole experience has been frustrating in that way where it's like, it's hard, even with a good therapist, it's hard for them to even understand what I'm talking about half the time.
Exactly. And
breaking it down in layman's terms, they still don't really understand. Like a big reason why I have an anxiety issue as I was staying diving officer watch on a submarine. And that's like, it's like being the pilot of an airplane underwater. Like I'm like the guy that's in charge of maneuvering the submarine safely underwater. And it's for me, it's the type of thing where it's like, I could kill all my friends, or I could break the submarine and ruin the mission, or like there's all kinds of horrible, like show-stopping travesties that can happen every single day when I'm on watch for 8 hours, 7 days a week while we're on deployment. And I'm just like, I'm not built for that shit. And I did not deal with it well. And you try to explain that to somebody that has never even been on a submarine, let alone been at sea. Like, my therapist was a lieutenant, but like, motherfucker never been on a ship ever. Like, unless he toured one, you know? So like trying to explain that shit. I mean, he probably had a slightly better understanding. Like, he knew some of the words I was saying, but even when you explain it, they don't really, they don't have like a thing they can compare it to, you know, like you guys having been at sea, even Hayes Gray and Underway, it's like, surface ships, there's something comparable. Like,
hey, bro, it's a lot, you know? So a lot of our jobs have something there that like you are walking the line every day close to death. Like it and you just don't know, right? Like, and this is not this here is not comparable to that, but like changing the lights on the main mast, right? So like as an EM, we got to
climb up there and
climb the mast and change the lights on the main mast. Right. I remember one day I had to change the lights in the hangar, y'all, and my hand was shaking. Yeah. Now, this ain't even the mast. I go up the mast any day. Just this one random day, I got a brand new undesk teaching him how to. Now, I'm the man on the ship. I'm the EM guy. You know, E5 EM guy. I got this junior sailor, his first day, undesk. And I'm like, hey, man, we're going to change these lights. And it's a ballast. I'm going to change them in a hangar, put the lights up. Man, and my hand with like no control over it, y'all. And that's what I was kind of saying earlier in my story is my brain ain't going to tell me shit. My finger is fucking shaking.
Yeah, your unconscious mind gets a fucking vote, man. That was like me breaking down in the car. Like, I couldn't fucking explain it because I didn't know what was happening. And then for like 6 months after that, I'm having panic attacks. I'm fucking like not in control of my emotions, which is what led to my wife confronting me and going, yeah, you need to fucking do something about this. And then I was in therapy not long after that. But like,
was you like on a rampage around the house or something? Like
no, I was snapping at her and like, mind you, like. Mind you, at the time, so like when it first started, I was in the midst of all the cancer treatment. So like, like when you're in the middle of radiation and all those like symptoms around, like I had sores in my mouth. I was on a liquid diet for like 3 weeks. I had really bad like bruises and burns right here, and then like it was a shit show. So like you're miserable. You feel like shit. I mean, I'm throwing up. I can't keep food down. It's like I lost like 35 pounds like while I was on that liquid diet, and so like. Of course I'm fucking miserable. And of course I'm going to be a moody bitch, you know, like, of course I am. So like, it was easily dismissed then, but then after I effectively had recovered from all the symptoms that would be driving that type of behavior, I was still being a fucking asshole. And I remember for me, I realized something was actually wrong, even though I didn't do anything about it. When in between the tumor surgery and radiation, I felt really good, and I went and got dirt for garden beds, and I was shoveling it out of my truck into a wheelbarrow. And this little girl that lives next door walks out in the street. She was like playing with a ball or something. And she goes, "Hi, neighbor." This girl's fucking 9 years old, and that's all she did. I almost snapped. I almost turned around and told her, "Shut the fuck up." And I was like, oh, thank God I caught myself. But I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with me? You know what I mean? And then it like kind of, not long after that, I started radiation, and that was like, it became my life where I just, you know, like I'd sleep all the time, and then I'd get up, go to radiation therapy, come home, get back in bed. And like, I mean, I was essentially on bed rest for a couple months. So I didn't really think about it. And of course I'm not in a great mood, and I'm in pain and all that shit. So like, it made sense that I was behaving that way. But then after all those radiation like side effects went away, I'm still doing that. I was snapping at my wife about dumb shit. And she's finally just like, okay, this is fucking over. Like, you don't have a reason to be this way anymore, and you're still being an asshole. And so then even, and right around then at the same time is when we started jujitsu. And I remember we went in, because they had like a kickboxing thing too, and we'd go in there and do that. And I remember one day I forgot my hand wraps at home. And I had a fucking nuclear meltdown over this shit. And I like, and the coach, Andy's like this chill dude. And he's like, just drive home and get him, bro. Like, you live 5 minutes away. It's fine. I'm fucking rage driving home, throwing shit, slamming doors, fucking grab my stupid ass hand wraps, throw them in my gym bag, go back to the fucking gym. Everybody's warming up already. I hate being late more than anything on earth. So now I'm fucking mad at myself for being this guy that's like holding up the class, put my hand wraps on, and he wants us to shadow box. And I'm just so like overcome with rage that I can't fucking do it. I tried. I like tried to fucking, and I'm just like, then I could feel the panic attack. So then I just was like, I took my gloves off and fucking, went out and sat in I'm like, I just told my wife, I'm like, I'll be in the car. And I just was in the car shaking and crying and like doing the panic attack thing. And then I just sat there until my wife was done with the class and she came out, and you know, it was a shit show. But like, that's not a thing normal people do. So I'm like, okay, like this is clearly a fucking, you know, a thing. Once that kind of shit, once I started having panic attacks, I had already started towards the like path of getting into a mental health thing. And it only took like 3 weeks for me to get my first appointment, but so it was in that 3 week window when the first like panic attacks happened. And then it was just like, okay.
Yeah, I know it's hard enough to just talk about like the job anyway. Right? So like it's either like you got to explain the depth of the thing before you explain it, or it's just some high school bullshit that's going on. Like if my wife asks me a question, it's like, in the morning, we do something called quarters, right? Yeah. And in quarters, the concept of and all I really want to tell her is like somebody uniform was fucked up, but I gotta go through all
you gotta go.
My wife gets so pissed at me. She's like, I don't need all the context. Just give me the meat and potatoes. Yeah, because I'll give her a lecture.
You know, so if I say, oh yeah, this dude uniform was fucked up and such and such, she said, well, what does that? Well, like I said,
right. Now you gotta explain
all this context. Now you don't understand. Fuck. Now I gotta start at the beginning.
Some high school. It's a whole bunch of, and it don't matter, y'all. Like, even now, right? It's just so much high school inflated ego, just bullshit that happens with people, period, right? The Navy part, right? And that's the concept, really, what I was talking about and what we've been talking about growth, growing up, age, time, and all that shit. Like, that shit don't change. You know, I was on TikTok and I was listening to somebody, he was replying to like some seller saying like, Chiefs are drunk and shit like that. And the dude was pretty much saying, no, Chiefs are people and people get drunk and shit like that. They just so happen to put on acres and become Chiefs that's drunk, right?
There's a lot of
before you
that's a huge part of like the junior sailor perception of Chiefs, as if they're like came out of their mom's womb a chief. It's like, no, they're fucking people. They did the same thing you did, and then eventually they got promoted to chief. It's like, it's not
exactly
kept drinking and got promoted.
I was about to say, go to the barracks right now and you're gonna see a whole bunch of drunk sailors.
Doing the same shit they're bitching about. But also, it's like there's plenty wrong with like chief culture and the way that we make chiefs. I don't even want to say train, because I don't think that's a thing that happens during the chief season, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But like, they're just people that went through the exact same thing you did en route to becoming that chief that you hate so much. And it's just like I like, and that's why I harp on it a lot on the DGUTS podcast stuff, where it's like chiefs, the importance of chiefs humanizing themselves to kind of like get rid of that perception of like I'm not a fucking alien, man. Like I'm not a different thing. And that's why what I hate about all of the artificial separations that we've created between the Chiefs mess and junior sailors. Cause it's like, we've othered ourselves just by creating this culture of the Chiefs mess. Like, we dress different. We have different berthing, different places we eat, different fucking everything. And it's like, it's not the reason why there's a big gulf in trust and all that kind of all like faith and trust in the Chiefs mess between like junior sailors and the mess itself. It's like there's a lot of other reasons that are a lot more important, but then we like layer on this other largely superficial but not unimportant things like the parking and the meals and all that the uniforms and just all that shit, berthing. that it makes us really, really easy targets for that kind of like, you know, oh, they're just a bunch of drunk shitbags that sweep everything under the rug and they never get held accountable for anything. And it's like, dude, like, okay, I get why you feel that way, but also they're just people, man. Like ask the question, like Jeff Bayless. I mentioned him in a demo earlier. I'm like Jeff Bayless fanboying today. Love you, dude. But his story is a really, really powerful illustration of the human side of a chief. And at the time when he got his DUI, he was an LDO and he was a JG about to put on lieutenant, which is where you're kind of like you're vested and you can't get reduced back to enlisted person. But he had his issue right before that happened. So then he got put back into the enlisted ranks as a chief. And when he tells his story, he gives you all the context. And so he humanizes himself in a way that's really powerful. And so you understand like, oh, okay, so this dude that presented as Boat's Superman, you know, like he made chief in like fucking 6 years and then got picked up as LDO right after that. And he's standing off the deck on a carrier not long after that. And he's got his gold SWO pin as a fucking JG and he's a big deal, you know, and then everything goes up in flames because he's a human being and there was a whole bunch of shit going on behind the scenes that no one knew about. And so like it was probably very easy for the people working there when it happened to be like, see, this piece of shit fucking thinks he's special, thinks he can drink and drive and he's above the rules. And it's like, that's not what was happening at all. He had childhood trauma that wasn't dealt with. His marriage was falling apart and he was ignoring it. He was a workaholic. Like there was just all this shit and he explains it all. And when he gives that talk that he gives, it's like you can't not walk away with empathy for this dude and with understanding that like, oh God, these are fucking human beings. But like, we don't do that. Like chiefs don't do that. Like they don't allow themselves to be vulnerable because they're afraid that like, if I let this guard down, they're going to see that I am in fact human and fallible. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the fucking point, dude. Like, like it's okay. You're just going to have more credibility with these people and they're going to want to trust you more because you're like, oh, they are like me. They really are. Like they are just people that are doing a job and they're doing the best they can, white knuckling their way through this experience, just like I am, because they're me. And it's like, yeah, we are. And it's like, it'd be cool if more chiefs would just accept the fact that in order for them to view you as a human being, you need to like let that veil of infallibility and we're the chiefs and we know everything and ask the chief and all that shit. It's like, okay, cool. Like we should be striving for an ideal. I think we could do a better job of creating that ideal, but also like you need to accept and be okay with the fact that you're a human being and that you're fallible and that you have limitations and that you struggle through things and stress affects you just like it affects everyone else. And it's empowering for those sailors for you to say shit like that out loud. Like Jeff Bayless has had, I mean, dozens and dozens of sailors after he gives his talk in like the hangar bay of an aircraft carrier come up to him and say, you just saved my life. Like I needed to hear that. Like I can't fucking believe that this is the first time I've heard something like this. And he's like had kids like I was going to kill myself. And you just like fucking, I feel like you just like got through to me in a way that I didn't think was possible. And then they can have a conversation and stay connected. And then hopefully they get the help they need. But it's just like, why do we have to fly in Jeff Bayless to do that? Yeah. Why can't that just be a cultural thing inside the mess so that, cause I mean, think about all that, like all the like barriers that would immediately undo so that like when any sailor needs mental health care, it's like we've all heard the stories of like the horror stories about like a sailor saying they're having mental health issues and basically getting told, no, you're not, fucking suck it up or whatever. Some version of that kind of a story. And it's like, if chiefs were okay with humanizing themselves and it was built into our culture that like, it's okay to go do that. Like we actually want you to go do that, even though there's lip service to that end, but it's like in practice in on real life, right? It's not always happening that way. And so if we could just build that into our culture and our identity as an organization of chiefs, it's like, imagine all the barriers it would remove for those sailors, because then those chiefs would turn around and be advocates instead of being roadblocks for those people that need that help. And it's like,
or they'll trust, they'll have trust to talk to us.
And the types of things like that the MCPONs like to say about like the first mental health counselor they should see as their chief, they need to trust you to even try to have that conversation, even though you're not qualified to be a mental health professional. Sometimes they can get, because I get what they're trying to say. It's like, if there are interventions where somebody's willing to hear them and validate their feelings as real, instead of you're just being weak or you're trying to find an excuse to not go on deployment or whatever. It's like, if that person can provide that for them, that is their LPO or their chief. And that's an accepted, advocated for thing that we do, and hopefully we get some training on it. But if you can be that person, if you're open to having that conversation, that might be the intervention that they needed, and they might not get to a place where they're at acute mental health issues and need a therapist. You know what I mean? They might, if you can do that earlier and be the person that they needed earlier, and they have that sense of belonging, they feel like they have a strong support structure around them, they might not even need to. They might not get to a point where it's that bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, but I don't feel like that's even a thing that Joe Blow chief on the street feels like they can or should do. And some of them would probably, if you tried to press them on it and you could get somebody to be honest with you, I suspect the answer you would get is it would be built there'd be shame built into it somehow, like embarrassment of being willing to have that type of a conversation, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to share experiences where you struggled and may or may not have had either just an acute stress response or legitimate mental health issues. And it's I feel like most leaders in the Navy are just afraid to show that kind of vulnerability. And it's I don't understand why. Yeah.
And I hope conversations like this tap the glass for conversations like that on a grander scale, I know, hey bro, whenever we talk, it's always,
I'll keep you here forever, bro.
Yeah, we can go
you gotta cut me off at some point.
I got the baby now, so I gotta go up and take care of her. But hey, whenever we talk, it's always good. Hey, for the DGUTS listeners that's here, I'm gonna be over there in a minute.
Yes, sir.
I'm be over. A couple people he named, actually, they gonna be over here. They gonna be over here soon. Actually, awesome. Dr. Cordell gonna be over here. Okay. So we got, but we'll always, I'm always,
it might be, I might have said James. I think his name's John. I think I fucked that up. I'm sorry, John. My bad. It's been a while. I'm sorry.
We always going to connect, y'all. So we'll always keep that established. But hey, bro, it's always good talking to you.
Hell yeah,
I hope
definitely. Same.
This conversation was one that some young sailors and even some of our peers could take and kind of pull different bits from and understand that we all going through this human experience together. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate y'all. Thanks for sharing y'all stories too. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
And it was good to meet the infamous DGUTS. You've been mentioned on this podcast a million times. It's like, it's always referred back to the DGUTS interview. So I was really excited to meet you today. I'm with it. I'm with it.
Send her the link, man. Or also, I don't have your contact stuff, but Damo can send you the Calendly link. I use the service to sign up and stuff. But we gotta get you on too.
I think he actually mentioned you when we were talking about Calendly also. So that's what I'm saying.
There you go.
It's like you're an honorary member of PTSD or PTSD. PTSF.
I'm gonna need to get a neon sign in the back. Damo.
Right.
David ain't been here about 3 months.
Hey, I'm not saying I'll replace him, but I do like podcasting and I got a lot of time on my hands. I'm just saying. I'm playing.
It's always a pleasure. I would say, where could they find you? But man, if you listening to us and you listening to DGUTS, it's
y'all better fucking know already. No, I'm just playing. DGUTSpodcast.com. Don't give up the shit podcast anywhere you get your podcast. YouTube too. Shit like that. Yeah. I'm easy to find.
All right, y'all. Peace out. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Bye.